One.
Welcome, 80s wrestling family. It is I, the vivacious, vicious Vicky, and yes, I know that is a mouthful. I am so sorry, but here I am again, another 80s Wrestling Con virtual signing, but better yet, Monday night virtual. And to my left, I have the host of all these upcoming signings, Mr. Ryan Marr, and I'm very happy to have you with me again.
Great to be here, Vicky. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. It's the 80s Wrestling Con. It's the parent company.
Yep.
But this is really the Monday night virtual that I think kicks it off. I don't want to say new generation because that's been used, but this is the current generation. So we got two great talents tonight. Former WWE superstars, but still current wrestling superstars, wrestling all over the world every weekend. And so this is going to be a really exciting time because these guys grew up as fans of 80s wrestling.
Absolutely.
And now they're out there doing it for a living. So it's going to be a nice little contrast with some of our regular old school fans. We're going to have some new school fans coming in, taking part in the chat, and it's going to be a great time.
That's right, and I'm super excited, guys. Tonight we have Darren Young, who, as you all know, is Fred Rosser, former WWE Tag Team Champion, and Erick Redbeard. Rowan, guys, this is amazing. As you all know, as he just stated, it's absolutely a treat. As I always say every single week, guys, this is not 80s wrestling. This was the future giving to me. These are guys that I watched growing up as a kid, and I am so honored to see the circle of wrestling go around and around. It comes back full circle. It really does.
Without
it
a
really
doubt.
does.
It was fun. I was talking to Darren off camera. I remember ring announcing and managing on Jersey Indie shows, and he was the guy that would come in and everybody would be like, oh my God, look at the way that guy's built. Like, he was the guy that, if you were like an out-of-shape independent wrestler, you would see him and you go, oh my God, maybe I should quit.
Yes.
So it was great to watch him go on to have so much success. And Erick Rowan, I mean, as a fan, Wyatt family coming in.
One of the best factions, might I add. No questions asked.
And let's not forget what he did with Daniel Bryan. Right? This led us to Kofi Mania, running wild. So this is really going to be an exciting night. It's something a little bit different. We haven't had somebody this current, to the best of my knowledge, at least since I started hosting. So to have two guys that are still out there doing the thing, going to Japan, NWA, all over the country, it's going to be a really great night.
Like I said, biggest bang for your buck, guys. I mean, this is really amazing. A really big treat. And like I said, it's all diverse with 80s wrestling. You never know what you're going to get. I say it every week, do I not?
No.
You never know what you're going to get, who's going to come on. It's really amazing, guys. Take advantage of this. Again, it's not too late. 80swrestlingcon.com. Get those orders in. And just so everybody is aware, and Ryan will be plugging this all night long, guys, but I have to be the first to let you know, if you spend $125 or more on the next upcoming virtual signings, you will not only get what you paid for, but you will also get a free 80s Wrestling Con t-shirt. Guys, I have 3 of these. They're amazing. I love it. Represent what you all love. We are all a family, guys. $125 or more, and you get a free 80s Wrestling Con t-shirt, guys. Take advantage of that
deal. Get them before they're gone, because they're going to just have to get more.
They're going to be gone quick.
It's not just, so those shirts are available for free if you spend $125 or more, but we got a fresh batch of those in for sale as well as the I'm an 80s Wrestling Guy t-shirt. So you can get all of that at 80swrestlingcon.com, as well as placing your orders for all of the upcoming signings. And there's some really good ones coming up. I mean, we're going to be back next week with Nikita Koloff. We have Virtual Mania in August. We just made some great signings for September and October. So 80swrestlingcon.com. $125 more on any of those, or more on any of those signings. You get the free t-shirt, but they're also available for purchase as well.
Yes, guys, as Ryan said, please take advantage of that deal. And man, Ryan, I got to tell you, like I said,
I'm not texting. I'm setting up the chat. I don't want anyone to think I'm being rude.
Calling them out. Calling them out.
Vicky, who's here for 10 minutes, stole my stand.
I did, guys, because I just got to see what's going on with this chat. But guys, listen, Ryan, as you said before, having that whole thing come around full circle, I have to say for me, this is amazing, because sitting in the stands as a 10, 12-year-old girl, watching Fred do his thing and being who he was and whatnot, it was absolutely amazing to me to be, here in this moment right now and to see that and witness the career and the things that he has done, especially the movement that he has going on. Guys, we have this belt right here. It's an extremely important movement that Fred has done in his career. I mean, really, I'm more than certain all of you have been following this, and it's a huge deal, guys. So let's,
we'll be talking about Block the Hate and everything else that's going on currently
100%.
in their careers.
100%, guys.
And
how to do it.
There you go. And like I said, if you have any questions or comments, leave them in the chat. Also, don't forget that you can share this link. There's a lot of current wrestling fans that might not be subscribed to 80s wrestling, because think about it, they weren't alive. So now you share the link on Facebook. They see Erick Rowan, they see Darren Young. and then they want to order. Also, I want to just drop this little quick announcement. There's going to be a live auction later on that's not going to be through 80s Wrestling. It's through Darren Young and Erick Rowan themselves.
Yep.
And we're going to be auctioning off some ring-worn stuff. I'll let them tell you a little bit more about that when I bring them on in just a bit.
Yeah, knowing the careers of these guys, I mean, come on, man. Like, these are extremely, extremely huge opportunities. You guys don't want to miss out. 80s Wrestling family, we love you all so much, but we have to let you know what's going on behind the scenes. And I just want to let you know that I am extremely grateful to be here. And Mr. Ryan, listen, man, it's coming to that time where it looks like...
Are you grateful that you had me?
You're okay. You did for the moment, but hey,
you're welcome.
This was the virtually Vicky pre-show. It turned into the Ryan Moore one. But hey, you know what, guys? Nah, I'm kidding. Love you guys so much. I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay.
It is about time to bring these guys on board. So
let's do it. Let's do it right now. All right, guys. So as we do this, I'm going to stay in this spot.
Yeah, no, that's good.
I am going to take my phone stand back. So here we go.
Take your phone stand back.
I'm going to be monitoring the chat. Leave those questions or comments, 80swrestlingcon.com. But right now, we're going to get started. If you're just joining us, welcome to Monday Night Virtual, presented by 80s Wrestling Con. My name is Ryan Marr. I am your host. Thank you to Vicky for getting us warmed up with the pre-show. But right now, we're not going to waste any more time. I'm going to introduce to you first a guy. He's a Jersey boy at heart. It's great to have him back here in New Jersey, where we're doing this from. Former WWE superstar, member of the Nexus, ladies and gentlemen, Darren Young, a.k.a. Fred Rosser, or is it Fred Rosser, a.k.a. Darren Young?
Hey. Hardly home, but always repping. Mr. No Days Off, the Suntan Superman is in the house, representing. I always say if I would have done this for the money, I would have complained a long time ago. I do it for the love and the passion. And I'm making my 20s just my 30s by what I'm doing with New Japan, you know. It's always been a bucket list of mine to wow the crowd with them. And hopefully by August I can literally wow the crowd when we have our first live crowd for New Japan. So I'm just hoping for that. But yeah, still making moves, trying to make $1 million moves, but making moves.
Well, that's what we love to hear, especially after the last year that we've all had. You know, that's why we're doing these virtual signings now, and people enjoyed them so much that even as we're starting to get back to normal, I don't think these are going to go away anytime soon.
Hey, I come prepared, baby. I got my mask.
There you go.
I got my cell phone. I got my car keys. So, hey, I'm ready to go.
All right, and we got plenty of Sharpies, so we're going to be putting those to use. But I'm going to bring out the next guest who's going to be joining us for the next 3 hours. It's not just you. I know this is your big Jersey homecoming, but we have a very special...
Wait, hold on. This is my moment. Hold on a second, damn it.
All right, I wasn't aware.
All right, bring on the next guest.
All right, now we're ready. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, you know him as a member of the Wyatt family. You've seen him with Daniel Bryan. He's a former WWE World Tag Team Champion, formerly known as Erick Rowan, currently known as Erick Redbeard. Welcome, Erick Redbeard, to Monday Night Virtual. There we go.
It looks like a party happening in here. Hey guys.
I just got intimidated.
Fred, just want to say, no hurt feelings, man.
A couple of months ago, he tried to break my arm.
You were saying that when you arrived.
He tried to re-injure I had the Tommy John, a very uncommon surgery in wrestling.
Okay.
Happened in WWE. A couple of weeks ago, tried to advance into Primetime Live tournament out in LA. He tried to break my damn arm.
Wow.
And resilient as ever. Look at him.
Phenomenal shape. Now, I got to ask you, Tommy John, very common in Major League Baseball where pitchers will come back and they will say that they have improvement in their play. Have you noticed improvement in your in-ring? Anything? Like, have you noticed, wow, this is, moving a lot easier now? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any issues. It's all about the rehab and the prehab. The prehab is we don't want to get hurt again. So I'm keeping everything nice and loose, and mobility has been really key during like the 2020 pandemic, making sure my mobility is on point.
That's awesome. Well, hopefully he won't try to break your arm again tonight.
I'm off the clock. He better not touch me. Where the cops at?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to get
I'm in a good mood and ready to meet some people virtually.
So basically how it works is they go to 80swrestlingcon.com, they place the order, and here the pictures come. The men will sign it. They'll give you a shout out. You could do both of them. You could do separate, but we're also going to be doing that live auction later on tonight, which is very exciting. We'll cover that in a little bit. But right now, I believe we're going to get started. But don't forget, guys, $125 or more on tonight or any future signings, and we're going to throw in this free 80s Wrestling Con t-shirt. Right now, we will get started with silver Sharpies. And this one is Bobby Fendelander in nearby Fair Lawn, New Jersey. He wants just the signature, and I love wrestling. That's for Mr. Darren Young right there. And then we also have Scott Lavoie in Riverview, Michigan. that is for Mr. Erick Rowan right there. Watching along in the chat, if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to drop them in the chat. Remember, guys, it's not a shoot interview, but if you do have some questions or memories about these gentlemen's careers, I mean, don't forget there's New Japan Pro Wrestling, there's WWE, there's NXT and Nexus, which, let's face it, that was like the modern-day New World Order in many, many ways. Tony G and Petro. Darren, have you and John Cena been separated at birth?
Well, I always say I wish I had made John Cena type money, but like I said earlier, if I did this for the money, I would have complained a long time ago. But having the opportunity to work John Cena is amazing, you know. So,
I think he was probably referring to the fact that you're in such great physical conditioning that maybe he thought that you and John Cena were separated.
The hell am I, chopped liver? Sitting right in the middle, making me look bad.
Bro, you were athletic. Don't get me started. We were just talking, damn it.
Kyle James says, Darren Young, much respect for what you were doing. Kyle James, Erick Rowan, you and Harper were one of the best teams I've seen. Adam Nordello in Nutley, New Jersey. That is for Mr. Young. And then Anthony DeSimone in Belport, New York for Mr. Rowan. Guys, if you're following along in the chat, please feel free to share the link. Like I said with Vicky on the pre-show, this is being broadcast on the 80s Wrestling page as well as WrestleZone.com. But if you're on Facebook watching this, there's a lot of people that may not be following the 80s Wrestling page that are fans of Mr. Young and Mr. Rowan. So share this link out, let them see it. All right, we're going to keep moving right along here. We got Joe Wilson in Little Falls, New Jersey. Awesome. And Patrick, Lexi, and Baby Raylan. That's who it's to, but it's from Christopher Barneycastle in Stanley, North Carolina. Get those orders in, 80swrestlingcon.com. If you want to have a picture signed by Darren Young and Erick Rowan, also check out the full list of all the great upcoming signings.
You know, you keep using Darren Young, you know, that's not my government name. My government name is Mr. No Days Off Fred Rosser.
Okay.
So hopefully you don't get any lawsuits, you know, using Darren Young. So
well I don't think Vince McMahon can take anything from me, so he can sue me. I mean, what is he going to get, my Xbox? I'm not really too worried about it.
Your legal name is Mr. No Days Off.
Yeah, you got a problem with that?
I didn't know that.
Damn it.
I'm learning something new along with this gentleman next to me. Learn something new every day.
Yeah.
And, all right, next up we got Anthony DeSimone in Belport, New York for Mr. Young. And then we have Ryan Evans in Bel Air, Maryland. Just signature and a wolf in sheep's clothing. So, of course, that's a Wyatt family photo that you're signing right there. How early on did you find out that you were going to be a part of the Wyatt family? Was that something that was kind of just sprung up? I mean, you got the tattoos, you're wearing a Slayer shirt, so you're a heavy metal guy. I could see that being just a perfect fit. Were you excited when you heard that news?
I mean, with everything with that company, everything is last minute. So, yeah, I found out that I was going to be part of that Wyatt family pretty much like 4 days before we went out for an NXT. I was going to be the second son of the Wyatts.
Wow.
Which would eventually be formed into the Wyatt family. I had nothing to wear. I had a pair of Norse trunks. Obviously, you can tell with my tattoos, I'm very into the Nordic heritage that my lineage has. And all that was in my trunk was a pair of pajama bottoms.
Oh, wow.
A wife beater, which I couldn't wear for obvious reasons. And I had a pair of coveralls, you know, from a reality show I did in Norway. So I cut the sleeves off those coveralls, threw my first big boot in the match, and it ripped the whole red crotch.
And especially for a stable that wound up doing so much, being involved in the main event, did they like check to see what you looked like? Like, did they go, okay, what do you have in the car before you go out there as a Wyatt family? Like, did you have to pass any kind of inspection, like, oh, you can't wear that, or no? Was it just go out there and do it?
They were like, that doesn't look too stupid. Okay.
Wow. Well, what a testament, though, to your talent, because nobody would ever be able to tell that it was just thrown together like that. So I'm assuming when you wrestled The Rock at WrestleMania 32, that was day of also?
Like 4 days before.
Wow.
Again, thrown together.
Angie Giuliata in Piscataway, New Jersey. Here's a photo of course, the Primetime Players, which I believe we have a T-shirt later that'll be signed for somebody who sent that in. And then, of course, we have the full Wyatt family photo right here. There's Bray Wyatt, the late Luke Harper, and Erick Rowan. This one's to Preston, River, and Lorenzo in memory of Luke Harper. So Preston is in East Nassau, New York. A lot of people, of course, are in the chat already. They're asking if you have any good Luke Harper stories you'd like to share.
He was somebody that could make you laugh, and I know Fred would attest to this. He lit up every room he was in. He made himself the center of attention, that's for sure. And if people were ignoring him, he'd make sure people looked at him. So he was awesome.
Yeah, I haven't heard anyone have anything but glowing things to say about him.
I always say personally, like when people ask me who are my favorite people to work with, I always say Luke and Cesaro, like, because they made me look good. You know, it's all entertainment, but we were fighting in there. You know, we were, you know, making it look as believable as possible. So those are my two favorite guys to be in the ring with.
Yeah, and you know, again, it was a tragedy. But what I loved about what you said about how in the back people, if they weren't paying attention, he'd make sure that they were. The gimmick that he portrayed on television was the complete opposite of that. So that's why it was so interesting. I had never met the man, but to read all these stories about how outgoing and funny, and then on TV, stoic and quiet. So it's always amazing because you usually hear that the great gimmicks are that person turned up. It seems like that gimmick was the complete opposite of who he was.
I think he's kind of like one of the outliers to that, but I think in the most part, most of the big, nasty-looking guys are usually the sweethearts.
Yeah, that's been said quite a bit.
And that's just to plug in myself.
Tom Johnson in New York, New York. Just Signature and Block the Hate. Can you tell us a little bit about the Block the Hate movement? I know you were very active in the WWE as an ambassador, doing a lot of things, and this seems to be something that you've kind of been doing even away from WWE.
Yeah, well, the clothing brand that I collaborated with, Headquarters Clothing, they presented me with that about 2 years ago, the Block the Hate Legacy Championship. So it's just a simple title I bring to appearances, and the kids take pictures with the belt. Cool. And I always say, you take a picture with the Block the Hate title, you sign your soul to the Block the Hate movement. And it's just anti-bullying type deal where, you know, in this world we all receive hate for various reasons, but in order to be strong and successful, you just got to block out the hate. With all the craziness going on in the world, you know, I'm going to be pushing that until I'm 6 feet under. So.
There you go. That's definitely a great thing to get behind. This is for Kathy Hummer in Bayville, New Jersey, for Mr. Rowan. 80swrestlingcon.com. Get those orders in. Check out the list of all the upcoming signings. Spend $125 or more tonight. We're going to throw in that 80s Wrestling Con t-shirt, which is also available for sale, along with the I'm an 80s Wrestling Guy t-shirts. A whole bunch of stock just came in. So go check it out, 80swrestlingcon.com. Alan Kennedy in Guy, Arkansas. Going to go back to the chat right now.
I'll signature. I'm sorry.
Stephen Garcia says, Mr. No Day Off Fred. So he's taking it seriously. He doesn't want to get sued. Mr. No Day Off Fred, who came up with the primetime players gimmick? Was it your guys' idea or creative? And do you and Mr. Titus still keep in contact?
Yeah, Titus and I still keep in contact. I congratulated him on getting his Hall of Fame ring. It was actually Vince McMahon that took a liking to us. I was the first season of NXT. Titus did NXT. We did NXT Redemption. And Titus is just, I always say the most intimidating thing about Vince McMahon is his office door. Titus would just barrel through there. I'd be like, oh, man, let's have a game plan. So you say some stuff, I say some stuff. He just barreled through there. And once you get to know Vince, you know, it's the sky's the limit. So, yeah, I learned a lot from the big man. And it was Vince McMahon that saw liking to us, put us together, and John Laurinaitis ultimately signed us to SmackDown. So the rest was history. Titus was the businessman. He booked everything. I did all the driving.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
It's good when it works out that way, that both guys are comfortable in their roles.
Yeah, you know, I like to listen to the calm music, calm, cool, and collected R&B music, and I get us to point A to point B safely.
Oh, that's great.
Yep.
Very important.
Yeah.
Sly Fitzenko in Illinois. Sly Fitzenko to Sly.
I was the driver, too.
Oh, yeah? Oh, yeah.
Except for I'd make them all listen to
my
music.
Yeah, we talked about that.
So there
man.
probably wasn't a lot of sleeping on those car rides, I'd imagine.
Oh, I would never listen.
Some early animosity, I believe.
All right, now we have a
so
fan from
pissed.
Italy. This is the New Jersey Pro Wrestling, Mr. No Days Off. Jim Mangler from Italy there, and he's want purple Sharpie for that one, switching it up.
Wait, did you say New Jersey Pro Wrestling?
No, I meant to say New Japan Pro
Yeah.
Wrestling. Well, I see the NJ and I just get excited.
Hey, man, Hey, I'm very prideful about this. I don't want to put you through the damn table.
Yeah, well, there's also New Jersey Pro Wrestling. You know, that's probably one of the 70 independent companies in New Jersey, so I do stand corrected. I
I
apologize.
can say it again because I can sit back, get some popcorn.
Hey, man, I'll do it. I'll do it.
You're not gonna protect me? No? All right.
You're on your own, man.
Yeah. Carlos Caballero says, Bone Crusher Fred, greetings from the cameraman. Thanks for all your kindness. Carlos Caballero. Dana Smith says, I loved the Bludgeon Brothers, the way you guys destroyed everyone. One of my favorite theme songs, too. I wish their run could have gone longer. Got to meet Rowan and Harper at the last Access in New York. Here we have for Stuart Campbell in the UK. All right. Who came up with Mr. No Days Off, Travis Babcock wants to know.
I think one of my best friends. I think he's a big fan. Well, we were a big fan of the rapper Wale, and I think he had a song years ago called No Days Off.
Okay.
And it's just something that I just used for a long time. You know, you gotta have a little something in wrestling. So, Mr. No Days Off, the Suntan Superman, the just all these nicknames. You know.
Yeah, well, hey, you got to keep your name out there. And a lot of guys always have multiple nicknames, and it's always good. Like you said, you don't want to upset any powers that be, so you have a couple other things in the back pocket. So next up, Nick Talley in West Virginia, still with that purple marker. And here we have Richard Anderson in Langston, Alabama, in silver.
But I always say with the No Days Off, it's real. It's not like a gimmick. It's a way of life, constant grind, struggle. You know, you get released from WWE. I mean, you got to keep it moving.
Yeah, I mean, it's the definition of an independent contractor, because if you're not actually working, you're promoting yourself, you have to sell tickets. So, yeah,
exactly.
I totally understand where you're coming from with that. Thorsten Fritz wants to know who came up with the Darren Young name and why. Was that something that you had a say in, or was it just let's throw a name out?
Actually, when I was at Florida Championship Wrestling, it was Dusty that came up with the name, and yeah, it just stuck with me. William Regal doesn't like the name because his real name is Darren. He's like, when he first met me up on the roster, he's like, I don't know why your name is Darren. It just doesn't sound intimidating. I'm like, oh, come on, man. So, I at the time I called myself D Young to sound more hip.
I got to be honest with you. You just told a story about Dusty Rhodes and William Regal. I did not expect a Regal impersonation. Usually,
I'm pretty good with the impersonations.
I would think that the
quiet.
Dusty would have been the go-to.
Yeah, I'm quiet.
We'll have to before the night ends get the Dusty Rhodes impersonation.
No, I can't do Dusty, but yeah.
Oh, you can't do Dusty.
Yeah, I get shy on camera. I'll do it maybe around the boys or something, but I always get shy on camera.
Well, we'll also see
joking.
what happens when we do the live auction later. If somebody comes in with like a monster bid and says, okay, but throw the Dusty in.
Hey, all right, money talks, baby.
All right.
I mean, I'd give the money to my mom because she's on the payroll.
I met her off camera. She's your personal photographer.
Photographer.
And she's taken some of the photos, I believe I heard you say, that we're offering. I believe she took a few of them, right?
Yes, sir.
There you go.
Yep. That's her passion.
There you go. Paul Hirsch in Bloomfield, New Jersey. And we have another purple. He wants just the signature and WWE Tag Team Champion. This is for Kyle Monitor, coming to us all the way from Brazil. How you doing, Kyle? 80swrestlingcon.com. Don't forget, guys, if you're watching on WrestleZone.com, howdy, how are you? If you're watching on Facebook at 80s Wrestling, please feel free to share this link. Spread the word. Like I said, a lot of people that got to watch the careers of these two men sitting next to me might not even be following 80s Wrestling, so they might be scrolling on their Facebook news feed, seeing these two guys and saying, hey, you know what? I want to get a picture. All right, next up we got Mike Johns in Brooklyn, New York. He wants gold for that one. And for Mr. Rowan, we got Adam Barney in Burke, New York. Going through those comments right now. If you have any memories you'd like to share, Travis Babcock. I'm actually meeting Eric in September at Bridge City Slam 3 in Iowa. All right. Someone else is asking about the name Darren Young. We found out that it came from the late, great Dusty Rhodes, and that William Regal hated it. Because his real name was Darren, not Steve. It has to get confusing after a while, right? Because his real name's Darren, but he was Steven Regal, William Regal, back to Steve, and then, you know, you're getting all these names now, too. It's like, if you meet somebody out, like, are you always sticking with Fred?
Yeah, I mean,
It's got to get confusing after a while. Don Simmons in St. Louis, Missouri for Mr. Rowan.
What's more intimidating, Darren or William?
Yeah, I know, right? I know. Exactly. You're right.
Did you ask that question?
Hell no, man. I'm scared of him.
It seems like you were more of the quiet type, right?
Oh,
Titus did the talking.
Titus did the talking. But I learned closed mouths don't get fed. And I was just quiet because I wasn't comfortable. I wasn't out, you know. I wasn't comfortable with myself. Now I just don't care anymore. But at the time, just very fearful.
Well, you also came up in the Jersey Indies, and I feel like there was a lot of, back in that day especially, the whole respect, keep your mouth shut. Like you had that, you know, ingrained in you. So now you get to the biggest stage of them all, where these guys, a lot of them were telling you that, never made it there. And now you're like, oh man, this is weird. So then when you see your tag team partner being like that, it's probably like, oh man, I'm cringing in the corner. I would imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. But I learned so much from him. And he's got a big heart too, you know. I learned a lot. He learned from me.
Yeah.
I learned from him. Like when he started developmental, I was always the first one there, the last one to leave working with the big man, because I want to see people succeed, you know.
Yeah.
People that come on out of football, they get a bad rap, you know. But I want to be able to help someone. And he put in the work, you know. I was there.
Without a doubt. Tim Eckerson in Utah, that's for you. And then here we have Larry D'Angelo in New York, just signature and let me in. Tam Hanvier says, hi Tam. David Geyer, Eric, do you still talk to Bray Wyatt?
Wow.
Anyway, Gonzo Newprint, much love guys from New Zealand. Slayer, favorite song? What's one of your favorite Slayers?
Hell awaits.
All right, there you go.
There we go. There's a question.
All right, and so there you have. Sometimes no answers speak louder. Terry Logan in Redding, California. That's the photo that your mother took, right? That you were telling us before.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. That's her hobby, photography.
Going through the chat right now. Carlos Caballero, happy birthday, Humma. Mr. Young, thoughts on Jake Atlas in NXT? And while that's going on, Jack Klein in Hershey, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, when I got released from WWE, he was like my second. He was like my second indie match that I had wrestled. Dolph Ziggler's brother Ryan was doing a fundraiser, and he asked me if I wanted to do the show out there in LA. And I said, sure, no problem, but I want to work Jake Atlas because I met him, I've seen his work, and I want to be able to elevate talent. Now, I don't know if I was able to elevate him in getting signed, but I said I wanted to be able to share the ring with him. And I said at the time, I was 16 years wrestling, and he was one of my top 5 favorite matches because he's got good instinct, and he's got good fire, and he's a handsome young man, you know. I always say in interviews, I would marry him because he's so good. And I say that in a way, a wrestling way. When you're married to someone, when you're always working someone, he's so good, I would want to work him all the time because he's that good and he's doing his thing.
Wow, yeah, no, and now especially too, because I mean I remember seeing your work on the Indies. You always liked to wrestle. You know, the WWE everybody considers the pinnacle or whatever, but now with New Japan, you're probably as a wrestler getting to do more than you were ever able to do on television when it's like, okay, 20 minutes, right? I mean, now you guys really get to go out there and go, and the art of wrestling.
Yeah, I mean, big man can speak for himself, but me, it's just like I'm staying in my lane with New Japan. I found my niche. I'm having fun. WWE stuff is very quick. And at the end of the day, I'm a wrestler. I'm not a promo guy. I can get through it, but I'm not one of those like, boom. At the end of the day, I like to wrestle and do my thing.
There you go. Jeremy Gibson. Eric, what was in the cage you used to carry? Sean Aiello in Paladon, New Jersey.
It exploded along with my career. No, don't ask about the cage. Come on. Come on.
All right, don't ask about the cage. So that now there's 2 questions I won't be answering for the next 3 hours.
It wasn't anything worthwhile television. How's that?
You have to follow up then. I'm not even going to bother. Eric, what did you want the payoff to be with the cage? Don't ask about the cage going forward. In fact, if you share this link, put don't ask about the cage. All right. Next up, we got Jim Myers in Boston. Jim Myers. Wasn't that Jim Myers at George Animal Steel? Late great George Animal Steel. Jim Myers. 80swrestlingcon.com. Get those orders in. If you spend $125 tonight or on any of the upcoming signings, and there are a lot coming up, we're going to be back next Monday with Nikita Koloff. Don't forget Virtual Mania on August 22nd. We got D'Lo Brown, Mark Henry, the Headbangers, Val Venus? No, he's a separate one. I don't know. It's all at 80swrestlingcon.com. So go check that out. Next up, we have Tad Graville in Stevens City, Virginia, and Tracy Brinton in Wilmington, Delaware. Oh, there you go. There's the graphic. Get the free 80s Wrestling t-shirt. Thank you to our guy Mike, and of course our catering manager Ian Levy. Everybody who sets up behind the scenes here at 80swrestlingcon.com. Next up, we got Donna Klein in Pennsylvania. How you doing, Donna?
All right.
Did Eric watch the AWA, right? Because you grew up, I mean, you trained in Minnesota and everything like that, so I would imagine you were big in the AWA in the 80s as a fan?
Not in the 80s. I think it's when I started working, like,
Okay.
and I started working on the Indies in Minnesota, and I started like getting like to know like Sheik Adnan Casey and Barrett Von Roschke, and then I'd go back and watch their tapes and their stuff, which was like AWA catalog stuff like that. So yeah, it's cool. I remember we did an indie show once, and it was me and my manager Adnan Chico Casey, and a guy who worked out there by the name of Brody Hoofer, and his manager was Barrett Von Roschke.
Wow.
That day, I had a whiskey breath go onto me, and he said, "I'm going to attach the claw, and that is all you need to know." Like it was great. It was great.
Oh, it had to be, yeah.
It was my mark-out moment in wrestling. It happened on the Indies before I even got signed, so it was great.
Yeah, I feel like there's just all those Minnesota guys, I mean, from that era going forward, are just a different breed. I don't know if it's the cold weather that just makes you guys tougher or what, but I mean, we had Ken Patera last week, and he was talking about, like, you know, it's one thing to watch a shoot interview DVD or something that WWE puts out, but to be sitting next to the guy and having him tell you about Vern Gagne's barn and the stuff that they went through, you're like, oh my gosh.
I saw him with his little hat on the table.
Yeah.
I saw that.
You saw how we tried to...
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You saw how we tried to wrestle that away at
Oh,
one
did
point?
you? Oh, I didn't
Yeah,
know. I
it
just
was
saw
one of
the
those
picture.
things. I don't get involved.
I just saw the picture. I was just like looking.
Well, that leads me to a question that I did have, and I don't get involved in politics,
Me
doesn't
neither,
matter.
yeah.
But I did want to ask this because right now it's being talked about. There's a couple WWE talent, and I'm not going to mention names, you could look it up, that there's some controversy over tweets and whatnot. What I found interesting, especially when you were doing the whole Make Darren Young Great Again thing with Bob Backlund, the guys that we usually interview for these didn't come up in the social media era. A lot of them don't even have social media. So what I always wanted to know is that especially when the President of the United States is a WWE Hall of Famer, the CEO of the company's wife is in the cabinet of the President of the United States, and then you'd go on Twitter and you'd see the opinions of guys and girls under WWE contract. Was there ever any talent relations memo or meeting or edict about, listen, social media, you know, calm down? Or did they ever pull somebody aside? You don't have to mention names.
I just remember Triple H saying, "Don't let your Twitter finger be your trigger finger."
Wow, simple and to the point.
Yeah, he said that. So again, I got to stay in my lane.
Well, I mean, people making their own storylines. I think that was always the big issue. I think it's fine now. I think everybody does it now. Like the storylines all start with Twitter.
Yeah, you're right.
Well, and it seemed to, I mean, work in some guys' favor, like Zack Ryder. Everybody talks about that. Was even before like Instagram and Facebook and things of that nature. It was just like through YouTube and the videos and stuff. So I think a lot of people, you know how it is in wrestling, someone sees something work, and now it's like, let's drive it into the ground. But I just always found that interesting because you always hear as a fan of backstage politics, and I'm like, oh wow, these people are really going off on Twitter, and their boss's wife works for the guy they're going off on. So I always wondered if there was like a conflict with that, or...
I think it's case by case, you know?
Yeah, depends on who it is.
Yeah.
But yes, you noticed that hat, and there was actually a point where he got up to go to the bathroom, and we were like,
Oh, yeah?
yeah, so that was not by choice. We also had a town-wide internet outage last week.
Oh.
So we just kind of went on the fly with that, and it was buffering, so I didn't even think, and then I looked down, because somebody in the chat noticed that, and I went, oh boy.
Yeah, I'm just having fun with you, but I just wanted to point that out and be funny about
well, thanks for bringing it up again. Anyway, Mary Grosso in Orlando, Florida. And now we got Erick Rowan, Brian Paponi in St. Louis, Missouri. Jeremy Gibson wants to know, and because he shared the link, so I'll make sure I get to his question first. Is Erick planning to go into AEW to kick butt and take names? He would dominate there for sure.
I'm planning to wrestle. Period.
There you go. There you go. It's the old school mentality alive well.
He is just so scary.
He definitely
He's
is.
so scary.
He definitely is.
No, I love him.
Steven Garcia says, for Fred and Erick, in your guys' opinion, who do you think is the most underrated current WWE superstar? And, well, I don't think they're called divas anymore, but we'll let it slide. See, they're even wrestling fans, so they're still up. But, so male superstar, female superstar, is there anybody that stands out as most underrated?
Oh, I wish Cesaro would have beat Roman, that's for sure.
That was an incredible match.
I mean, come on. Hey, that's my opinion. Give a dog a bone.
I think it's going to happen eventually.
Yeah, I wish it would have happened now. You know?
Yeah, I think after last night, they're not going to be able to deny that much.
Cesaro's not underrated. I think everybody knows how damn good Cesaro is. Especially every one of the boys who gets to work him. It's a night off. It is a night off working Cesaro. But yeah, man, like you can talk about underrated, but like he just needs opportunities. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
No, I've always
there's a difference between being underrated and getting opportunities.
But well, also fans too. I feel like nowadays, you know, I mean, especially in the era that we grew up watching wrestling, the world title was the world title. I mean, now of course there's hours of TV every week and stuff like that. So of course you're not going to see 4-year title runs, 3-year title runs. But I think people just automatically say, "Oh, that guy needs to be world champion." Not Cesaro specifically, because he's been there a very long time. But it's like, okay, give it time, see what happens. But that match last night, I mean, it was great to watch, and then the way that they went in the end with the Seth Rollins feud resuming. Sure. So now it's a way of getting him out of that title picture, but still in a very good feud. But I think in a lot of fans' minds, they're just like, well, the world title is the only thing that matters. And that's not always true.
No.
Any more questions coming in? For both of you gentlemen, what are your thoughts on MLW and NWA? I believe you work for NWA, right?
Yeah, I've done some work with them, and I'm going to continue to do some work with them. For me, it's a little tough because NWA, the 80s style, and the New Japan is two totally different styles. So for me to mentally make the adjustment, I'm my own worst critic, you know. So that's like my biggest struggle, like finding that happy medium. But yeah, I'm hitting home runs with all of them. I'm doing my best work.
Well, I think that's why you're as good as you are at what you do, because usually the people that are their own worst critics usually are. This one's for Todd Schwartz in Williamsville, New York. And this is for Romy Romes. I'm sorry, that's what he wants it to. Romeo Ayala in Loves
Oh
Park,
my goodness.
Illinois.
Did you hear this, Mom?
Oh, that's somebody you know personally?
Yeah, that's my biggest fan, Romy Romes from Chicago.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Very, very cool.
Yeah, he's been backstage to all the shows.
Oh, nice. And I'm assuming
Invite.
Mom's been in a lot too?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Because if Mom knows the biggest fan, then
yeah.
Mom's probably in a lot of shows.
Yeah.
All right. That's so cool. Dana Smith wants to know from both of you guys, who were some of your favorite wrestlers growing up? I mean, you told the Baron von Raschke story earlier. That was your first mark-out moment. Who were some of your other favorites?
For me, Kane and Test were the two that were awesome. I liked Nikita Koloff. You know, pretty much just any big bad bruiser. Like, you know what I mean? Even John Nord. Not so much the Berserker John Nord, but
I thought Berserker was great. I mean, and I used to love Bobby Heenan's commentary. How's this guy ever going to win a title? Because he would just throw the guy over the top rope and take the guy.
Stan Hansen, Bruiser Brody, like he just go through all those guys. So like that to me, that kind of style, those kind of guys are the guys I like to watch.
What about you? Who were some of your favorites growing up?
I mean, off the top of my head, Bobby Eaton, Arn Anderson, Brad Armstrong, like, and I didn't know why. Like, why do I like Brad Armstrong? But just the way he got that sympathy and the way he was believable on the cell, like, those are some of my favorites.
Bobby Eaton's still amazing.
Oh, yeah,
He's got to be in his 60s, and he's out there, right, working. And
Wait, is he still working?
I see, I don't know about since pandemic, but I mean, right up to the pandemic, you would see advertisements for him out there on shows down south. It was just unbelievable.
Yeah, like, I'm big into, like, footwork, and at the end of the day, I'm a wrestler, so I'm watching guys from the waist down to see how they move and how they get from point A to point B. So, yeah, he was one of the best.
Well, if he is still working and you're a promoter and you're out there, We could book it. Darren Young versus Beautiful Bobby. It could
that'd
still
be
happen.
awesome.
Nolan Ward in Mokina, Illinois. And then again, we have the picture that Mr. No Days Off Mother, his personal photographer, took. Kyle Beamer in Texas. And that's actually the belt that's on the table right there. That's not going to be part of the live auction later. However, we will be having a live auction with Darren Young and Erick Rowan, their own personal ring-worn gear. We're going to find out more about that as the night progresses, how you can own a piece of history. I believe it was a jumpsuit that you attacked Randy Orton in, as well as a couple t-shirts. And then we have the original Nexus t-shirt, as well as some ring trunks that were worn in matches that Mr. Young had with John Cena. So definitely stay tuned, share this link out, let everybody know what's going on. 80swrestlingcon.com, get those orders in.
And can I just say,
whatever you want.
The only reason why I've sold a lot of stuff, but the only reason why I brought stuff today is because I got the idea from RVD. I remember hearing him do an interview about like why he's going to let all of his stuff just sit in the garage. You know, if someone that collects stuff wants to buy it and hang it up, then so be it. So I said, yeah, that's a good point. So yeah, I've sold a lot of my stuff. I don't need it. Like I said, I'm not going to wear it. So.
Yeah. And now on A&E, that WWE Hidden Treasure show, which is like become my new favorite guilty pleasure TV show. You know, I thought I was somewhat of a collector, but seeing what some of these people have and what it's worth, and you're like, oh wow. So I mean, now is the time. If you have stuff that you want to get out there to the fans, now's the time to do it.
And if it's one of a kind, you keep it.
There you go. There you go. This one is Gworky Mateo in nearby Weehawken, New Jersey. That's for Mr. Rowan. And then we have Leslie DiRocco in New York. There you go, Mr. Young. 80swrestlingcon.com. Get those orders in. Just scrolling up, guys. We're having a lot of fun. We're talking a lot. So let me just scroll up a little bit and find any more comments or questions in the chat that I may have missed. Shannon McCoy says, I know them from WWE. Yes, that's right. Currently with NWA and New Japan Pro Wrestling. And Mr. Rowan says he just wants to wrestle. So there you go. Spread the word. Share the link. Tony Estrella. For both of you gentlemen, what music/bands inspire and or pump you up the most? Hello from Grudge Match Brand.
Oh, God. Me and Big Man are total opposite.
I could imagine just from what he was saying before we went up.
For me, personally, from my workouts to maybe before a match, it's all R&B. Nice, relaxing, baby-making music. This guy, please.
I think I have a vast range of different kinds. I have stretching music. I have playlists I put on for the heavy deadlift days. I got stuff for the concentrated curls. I got different things for everything. I got atmospheric metal like Solstifer. I got I'm on a Marth for the heavy deadlifts. Come on, man.
Okay.
And every now and then, does Boys to Men count as R&B?
Oh yeah, of course.
The definition of R&B.
When I'm watching a movie, like I think I saw Lethal Weapon once, and they had one of the characters died, and somebody was singing a Boys to Men song. I didn't turn the channel. I actually watched it.
Was it
I listened, and it gave me feels. It made me feel deep inside like a certain thing. So maybe I need a little bit more R&B in my life.
You do, because that heavy metal, there's a time and a place for it. But
was it End of the Road in the movie? I'm trying to remember. They also had that great song, Mariah Carey.
Yeah,
it's so hard to say goodbye to yesterday.
I was waiting for it.
And then the way that they sing and go up really high and low. I listened to the Isley Brothers.
Oh yeah,
does that count as R&B?
Yeah, of course, absolutely.
I would love to see you at the gym though, just like with the pods in and then rocking out to Boys to Men, because people would be like, "What the hell is going on?"
Yeah.
Eric Layton in Felton, Delaware, right there, and Brad Foreman in Tampa, millions of dollars. Thorsten Fritz says, there was a rumor that Nexus was getting back together for the Firefly Funhouse match with Cena versus Wyatt last year. Is that true?
Yeah, that was just like, no, that was like a rumor that I said. No, I don't think I said that, but I did say...
oh, so it came from you.
No, not that, but I did say something. Not that, but I did say something like, oh yeah, Nexus is coming back. I'd have to go back into my feed.
That's funny.
I always say, and people take it out of context, when I say, oh, you know, especially if I'm on a date and like someone tells me something, I was like, oh, CTE concussions. I don't remember. So same thing. I don't know what I said. I'd have to go on my feed, but I said something about us coming back, and then the pandemic hit.
But it's funny that you're like, I have to remember what I said, because nowadays, especially, and I was telling Vicky this on the ride up, ever since I started hosting these and following a bunch of different wrestling pages on Instagram, I get like every wrestling news site their top story on my Instagram feed.
Oh, and, same here, yeah.
And yesterday, it was like one of the things, it was like from 7 different feeds, you know, Sting, notorious for ratting out wrestlers who cheated on their wives. And I'm like, where did this come from? So I click on it, and it was, the source was Shaggy Two Dope from the Insane Clown Posse on a podcast that some fan asked a question. So he says what he thought he heard, and then 20 wrestling sites ran with it, and I'm going like, is this the Twilight Zone? So that's why it's so funny to hear you go, I don't remember what I said, but apparently it got spun out there as something, so that's always interesting.
Yeah, I have to go back in my Twitter feed.
That's always fun, isn't it?
Yeah.
Dennis Bernal in South Dakota. And also Dennis Grenau, he's a 80s Wrestling Con regular. Good to see you, Dennis. And that's for Mr. Fred Rosser. Travis Babcock says, Fred, how was it filming for the upcoming Nexus documentary on the WWE Network?
It was a lot of fun. They called me a couple of weeks ago, WWE, to see if I was available to do it. And again, I've said it 3 times already, if I did this for the money, I would have complained a long time ago. And I always say on my podcast, don't die with the story you tell it. So however I'm going to share my story, I'm going to do it. So they contacted me. They had a camera crew come out to LA, rented out a house, and they sat me down to do the interview. But to hear what really went down, you have to go on my podcast, Pro and Bro Wrestling, to hear what really went down when I was told to take off my New Japan jacket when they started filming. Because I purposely went there to represent New Japan. Because, of course, 10 years later, I'm not some grizzled vet like, oh, back in my day. 10 years later, I'm with the bucketless organization of mine, New Japan Strong, so I'm very proud. So you have to tune into...
I'm going to listen now.
You have to tune into Pro and Bro Wrestling, my most recent episode. And I do the podcast not for the numbers. I do it because it helps me become a better speaker. It helps me share stories, be a better storyteller, get over that fear of talking. That's why I do the podcast, and I do it with my real-life neighbor. So, yeah, my latest episode, I talk about what was asked of me, what I said.
That's great. I can't wait to watch it, especially because it always seems like, again, we were talking about it before, and one of you said, I guess it depends on who it is, because just when you think, like, all right, maybe they're going to take this ESPN style of approach of acknowledging other wrestling. Chris Jericho is going to be on Stone Cold's podcast, but then you can't wear a New Japan jacket, which probably, if they wanted to, they didn't even have to mention New Japan. The logo just would have been visible. So it's so silly to me how they could promote one company for 2.5 hours and then tell you can't. It's,
you know, and it's just like, you know, you inducted Jushin Liger into the Hall of Fame. And like I said, I've always said the Nexus, I did my thing as a group, I did my thing as a tag team, give a dog a bone, and let me do my thing. And let me represent New Japan, because, and I'll keep talking about it until I'm blue in the face, because I'm so fucking proud. You know?
As
so
you should be.
Proud.
It's an amazing accomplishment. Next up, we got Sean Matthews in Norfolk, Virginia. And we have Josh Greenblatt in Solon, Iowa. Lots of people talking about Bob Backlund in the chat. Bob Backlund was actually featured last night. Great episode of the A&E Hidden Treasure Show with Sergeant Slaughter. And, well, it was just Sergeant Slaughter, but they also were referencing Iron Sheik quite a bit. And Bob Backlund, that's a guy who always has it turned on, huh?
Yeah, you know... Bob Backlund, it was my idea to pair us together because we've done several appearances where I like to do my autograph standing up, because when you're with fans, you're up and down to get that money shot. So I just like to do them standing up, get personal, and that's how Bob Backlund is. He's very personable. So I knew tag teams don't last forever, so once I was done teaming with Titus, I was like, man, I want to have something like a manager or like some kind of life coach. And then I wrote everything out, all the storyline out. I had a visual. I took the idea from Mike Tyson and Cuss, because you know, when Mike was with Cuss, he was sort of laser-like focused. And I had it all written out. And like I said earlier, the most intimidating thing about Vince McMahon is his office door. And because of Titus, you know, after I'm done teaming with him, I bust right through Vince's door and I proposed the idea. And I literally talked to him for about 20 minutes. And the stuff I'm sharing with you now, I've said it on my podcast and everywhere, so it's nothing new. But I sat with him for 20 minutes and we talked surprisingly about yoga, because he was like, man, how do you get such a big barrel chest like that? And I said, yoga. He's like, really? I said, yeah, I mean, just it corrects your posture and all that stuff. So we talked about it. We talked about the storylines, and he personally contacted Bob and said, would you be down to do this life coach? And Bob said yes. I just always say it's unfortunate the people that work under Vince McMahon didn't have my back. You know what I mean? That's just how it is. Back in the 80s, it was Pat Patterson and whoever else, you know, running the ship. Now it's Vince McMahon and 9 other people. And it's just unfortunate no one had my back, but Vince McMahon had my back.
That's great. And did you have a similar experience as far as pitching ideas or anything like that? Did you feel the door was always open?
Oh yeah, like once I started going in, like I had pitches too before the Bludgeon Brothers, and before that, like where I would have confidence enough to go in and pitch things. I remember once I did all these YouTube videos, like went in, I explained this whole multi-personality character, which is before they gave us the Bludgeon Brothers, obviously. But yeah, he listened to it, he loved it, put me on Talking Smack. I showed him the character pitch, and then 3 days later, hey, you're going to be the Bludgeon Brothers. So
yeah, that's
but whenever I talked to him like one-on-one about anything, it was taken care of immediately, and he has a respect for you if you talk to him. Like I still text him and talk to him, but like, yeah, it's just one of those things where it's like there's a lot of people under him. And,
Yes.
not gonna name names.
Yeah, of course not.
I don't know. But yeah, man. It's, like I never had any problems there. Like as far as that, like I was always figured in with something, did something. Like a lot of guys have like stories of, you know, like I know a lot of guys go on Twitter now and publicly complain about being just on main event and stuff like that, and you know. That it's peaks and valleys and cycles, and that's wrestling. Like, and it's a huge company, and once you break out and you're outside, there's all these other opportunities and different things, and ways to creatively show and express yourself. You're finding yours. I'm slowly finding things not only within wrestling I want to do, but outside of wrestling as well, which are like just so much more rewarding. So like. To me, yes, I want to wrestle. I want to do these things, and unfortunately, everything's been closed.
Yeah,
we were like, I think one of the guys that was let go with us, group of 21, like a year and a half ago, 2 years, was Matt. What was this Vaudevillain's gimmick?
Oh yeah,
that was a great.
I know him by his real name, and I can't even remember his working name.
I know who you're talking about.
But he said being let go during COVID is like being thrown into quicksand. Because nothing was open at the time. And,
it's a great analogy, though.
For me, I was lucky enough to have gotten an opportunity just like immediately after, like the day after I got let go, which kind of trajected what I want to do with my life and kind of like get me hyped. It turned right back around and now get me excited into wrestling. So like
it's so great to just see a positive mindset.
Because
when you're so used to the Twitter, I mean, you get bogged down by it, or by reading, oh, this person held me down or whatever. And look, I'm sure there's a lot of truth to all of it.
Yeah, I never say any of that.
I know you, but there's a lot of people that do, and I'm sure that there's a lot of truth to their stories. But it's like, where does it get you? You know,
you got to be positive, because if you're not positive, then you're just going to be a negative person, and you're going to be a complainer. And for the rest of my days, I don't want to be a guy that's going to sit complaining about what should have happened, and I want to make what I want to make happen. And
and a lot of it too, not that you want to ever rest on laurels, but making it, I think, means a lot too. The fact that you were there means something. That's something that nobody can ever take away from you. So I love hearing all about the positivity. So next up, we got Tony Aragon in Santa Fe, New Mexico. Don't forget, we're going to be here with these gentlemen until about 10 p.m. We're going to have a live auction later with their actual, authentic, in-ring worn stuff. We'll tell you more about that in a little bit. This is William D. Michelle, another regular of 80s Wrestling Con. He's in Easton, Pennsylvania. Dana Smith says, I think Eric is talking about Aiden English.
Yes.
I had like you said, the Braveheart. Actually, the most terrifying injury I've ever had in wrestling, period. I've had, you know, multiple surgeries from wrestling. The most terrifying injury I had was overseas. I got kicked in the head, and I forgot. I woke up in the training room talking mid-sentence to the trainer.
Oh my God.
Come to find out through pictures and whatever, I kept wrestling. I kept going through cruise control. I never got those memories back. The only time they threw up an X is because Harper John recognized at the end when stuff starts getting complicated in tag matches to get out of the heat that something was a little off with me. So he made sure after I was hitting the head again on the apron and fell down and just stared at him like bug-eyed that something was wrong. Put up the X, I guess. I don't remember any of this, but that's the most terrifying injury I've ever had because those memories are always gone. I can't get it back. Like, so that stuff's scary to me. So
when you come to in a moment like that, like you said, you came to mid-sentence in the training room, like, did they go, okay, calm down, this is what happened? Or like, I mean, because it has to be horribly frightening, I would imagine.
It's extremely frightening. And then to think that it was the middle of a European tour and then I'm wrestling on Raw, like, you know, less than 7 days later. I did the protocols, I passed the cognitive tests and the in-ring tests, but still, to not be flown home, like, it just made me think, like, at the time, like, what am I doing? Like, but when we're in that zone of go, it's crazy. But like, now that I think of it, I'm like, and then when I do have these kind of brain farts, I wonder, is it because I was hitting the head? And
Absolutely. That's why you need to
then
get yourself some well, we talked about that, but yeah, that's why cannabis saved me.
So a note to myself, I think it was after that injury I had specifically, I was always a lot less snug, I think. Especially, I think I used to like to give forearm shivers to the neck, and I'm a big dude, and I think I stopped doing those pretty much.
In other words.
And it gave me a newfound respect for certain things in the business maybe I should have been doing. And then I think it was after that moment people started really liking to work me. So maybe everything kind of all came together.
They're like, he got his bell rung, but it made him a nicer guy. No, but and like what you said about cannabis now, Vice News just did a great thing with Rob Van Dam, who you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, and
did you watch that story?
I watched that with Godfather, right?
I didn't see Godfather in that one.
Oh, he wasn't on? Oh.
But Rob Van Dam, he has his Icons thing on the network now, but he did a thing with Vice News, and they were talking about how he's become a cannabis advocate. And so I think right now at this point, it's pretty close to being accepted, most people. They were talking about how WWE is finding their athletes more than what like a state would.
Well, apparently not anymore. So
okay.
I'm a little jealous about that.
Okay.
But
well, I mean, next run. Now you know.
Yeah,
So
exactly. Exactly.
Next up, we got Tad Graville in Stevens City, Virginia, and then Emil Menard. Now it's interesting that Emil just popped up because he is our live auction champion. So anytime we ever auction anything off, this guy Emil comes in with crazy high bids. So when he finds out what's going to be auctioned by you guys later on tonight, we're going to see if Emil Menard is willing to keep his title, because this is outside of the 80s wrestling realm. So there you go, to Emil right there. 80swrestlingcon.com. Andrew Basinger says, much respect to you both. What else is going on up here? Thorsten Fritz always coming in with the good questions. He says, to Eric, did The Rock choose to have the impromptu match with you in particular, or did they just go to the Wyatt family and ask who wants it?
I'm sure at the time they looked and saw, okay, well, we want one of the Wyatts to lose. Which Wyatt could it be? Oh, not Rob. Well, not Bray.
Yeah.
I think Harper was hurt at the time, so who's left? Me.
Was there a party, though, that kind of like, because you find out 4 days before, was there like a little bit of a mark-out moment? Like, I know that it was going to be a quick match or whatever, but it's still the biggest celebrity in the world, and you're having a match with them at WrestleMania.
To me, people are people.
Okay.
So I don't get like that crazy, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe like I have surreal moments. I know I did some loops with Kane where I'm working matches with him, and then I have that moment of like, okay, well, I watched him. That's how I want to get into wrestling. And so like you have those moments, but like you learn real quick. People are people.
Yeah.
There's no one special. Like you're you, and if you treat people with respect, and you see genuine people, but you're gonna meet no offense, you're going to meet assholes in life. And
I'm sitting right here.
you know, they say never meet your heroes kind of thing.
Absolutely.
Luckily, everybody I've met has been, for the most part, great. Like, I haven't had to deal with the whole don't meet your hero thing, because everyone's, you know, treated me with respect. Maybe I would treat them with respect. I don't know if you've had similar experiences.
Well, you know, if I see The Rock backstage, I'm gonna make sure I get my selfie or some kind of money shot, because I need it for social media.
Yeah.
But he is a nice guy to me, and he just knows me from the Samoan family and Tamina and stuff like that. But yeah, one of my heroes, Kurt Angle, and he was just so kind to me, especially as an extra, because I always say, when people say former WWE superstar with me, I always joke around and say, oh, I'm not former, because my journey started with WWE in 2003, when I was doing extra work from 2003 to 2009, and when Kurt Angle was having this feud with Shawn Michaels and doing the Kurt Angle Invitational, like, I was like the cop holding his medals, and he was just always so kind to me.
That's
and,
awesome.
I remember I knew the answer, but I went up to him at ringside in 2005, 6, and I said, you know, and I knew the answer. I said, if you have an amateur wrestling background, should you like incorporate it into your wrestling, your pro wrestling? He said, sure, absolutely. That's going to set you apart from everyone else. So I already knew the answer to it, but I just wanted to ask my hero, and he was just always so kind to me, all the way up until this day. You know, he's shouted out the Block the Hate movement.
That's great.
So yeah. Kurt's my favorite.
That's and his story. Talk about you know, inspirational. Everything he's gone through and then come back. I mean, just great stuff. Next up, we have Mike Edwards in Wallington, New Jersey, not too far from here. That's for Mr. Rowan. And for Mr. Darren Young, we got Sean Matthews in Norfolk, Virginia. Kyle James says, I am taking the title tonight. I think he means the live auction title. So, Emil Menard, you're probably going to have some competition.
Live auction title? What live auction title?
Well, because this guy, Emil Menard, wins literally every item every week. He outbids everyone. So I think when it's time to get to your ring-worn stuff, he's going to have to really pony up. I mean, you know, right now he's the United States champion. He's got to get to that world champion level, because we got some pretty cool stuff tonight. Kyle James says, thank you to Tommy Fierro for being better than WWE Raw once again. There you go. All right, next up, JT Kennedy in McAlester, Oklahoma for Mr. Rowan. And then again, Ryan Evans in Maryland. And he actually wants the signature plus make Darren Young great again, which we were talking about just a little while ago. 80swrestlingcon.com. Don't forget, spend $125 tonight or for any upcoming signing. We're going to throw in that complimentary 80s Wrestling Con t-shirt, which is also available for sale on the website, along with the I'm an 80s Wrestling Guy t-shirts. Oh, now Emil Menard says, we'll see. So I don't know if he's just trying to kayfabe us a little bit here, or if you know, he's really going to check it out. But yes, that auction will be coming up just a little later on. Next up, we got Leslie DeRocco in New York. Wyatt Family Forever. Guys, feel free to share this link out on your Facebook news feeds. Hello to everyone who's watching live on WrestleZone.com as well. Kyle James says, the store is awesome. You all must go to the store. Yes, the Wrestling Collector in Stockholm, New Jersey. We were there last week for the Ken Patera signing. Definitely check that out.
And I'm sorry, I thought earlier today that's where I was going to be at. I knew I was going to be here until last minute. I was like, oh man, I wanted to see the store.
Next time.
Yeah.
He's been doing now that we're opening back up. There's a lot of in-person signings too, so that'd be pretty cool. Are you back in New Jersey often, or?
This is my first time since the pandemic hit. I was here February 2020.
Oh, okay.
And I was working on an off-Broadway musical about marriage equality. And the only reason why I signed on to do the musical was because Chris Jericho was a big inspiration of mine when he did Dancing with the Stars. And everything he does, it's like, you know, he's not just a wrestler. He has other projects, you know. So I said to myself, you know, at 36 when I did it, I would have never done it at 26 because I wasn't comfortable with myself. But just Chris Jericho being an inspiration and doing Dancing with the Stars.
Are you a singer?
No, and I had to be taught how to sing, dance.
Wow.
It's different when you're the second lead actor and you have a like 50-page script. You know, my biggest role ever that I bailed on at first because it was too much for me. But I worked with the director, and when you get your lines down, that's great. But when you incorporate singing and dancing, like these people that have experience in Broadway, they get it like that.
Yeah.
I would have to take, it would take me 6, 7, 8 times to get the dance moves and the singing. I was like sing talking. I wasn't really singing, but sing talk. To get everything down was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, but I would do it again in a heartbeat.
That's incredible, because you're talking about earlier being uncomfortable with promos in the beginning.
So uncomfortable.
And then you go from that to musical theater.
Yeah, I would do it again in a heartbeat because, like, for me, during the musical, I had a solo. Throughout the music, I had one solo to get right, and it's different from wrestling. So once I was done with my solo in the musical, I came to the end and heard the crowd cheering for me. You could hear them like rooting for me because it was like a love triangle story. So you could hear the people rooting for me. And when I went to the back, I was crying my eyes out. And then the theater people were like, "Oh, what's wrong?" I was like, "Did you hear the people out there? Like, they're like clapping for me." And they were like, "Well, this is why we do this, you know, because of that reaction. And this is why we do what we do, because of the reaction we get out there in the ring, you know." So yeah, it was an amazing experience. I'd do it again.
And it's obviously going to inspire you to do more. Are you pursuing more projects?
If I can do more projects like that, that's great. The musical I did was Little House on the Prairie. It's on Broadway on demand.
Okay.
So they might be doing a season 2, but it was a project that I can be happy with and put under my belt.
That's awesome.
You know, I was just talking to Big Man. You know.
Are you going to get involved in tap dancing or something? Maybe I don't know. I can't picture that. I don't know.
I actually joked to the wife. I wanted to get into like once before I am too old to do it. I want to do live theater.
I'm telling you, bro, do
musical
it.
or just drama or anything?
I can actually carry a tune.
Wow.
But yes, definitely just any kind of stage theater. Like it was something like I was told, like on one of the sets of the movies I did, I asked one of the veterans there, like, what can I do, you think, to help me better and get more of a grasp? Because you can take lessons and do whatever. And he told me live stage theater was probably one of the best things to do, which is funny because if you think about it, wrestling is a sense of live stage theater. But it's a lot more pressure because when you're in the theater, like you were, I'm sure people weren't yelling, hurling insults at you as you're trying to speak and talk to people. It's kind of hard to show your emotion when people are frustrating you and yelling in your ear and you trying to show this emotion. It'd probably make why it's a lot easier for guys right now to be able to connect with people.
And I never performed in front of, but me as a stand-up comic, when I was on the indies as a manager, as the heel, you always had to have the lines to go back. So now when I get a heckler, it's no problem, So I can't even imagine, like you performing in front of stadiums, 70, 80,000 people, you guys, Broadway theater, you're comfortable with an audience. You know how to respond to different reactions and whatnot. So
exactly, and I'm not afraid to be soft. Like wrestling. I used to always do my promos like this because I love Shane Douglas, and I wasn't comfortable with myself, so I'd always do them like that. Now I can be soft. I can be tough. I can just be feminine. I can be me. So. Yeah, I do it again in a heartbeat.
Oh, that's awesome. So great to hear. So next up, we got Tim Peterson in Las Vegas, Nevada, along with Cole Payne. It sounds like a worker name. Cole Payne in Canada. Thorsten Fritz, to both, any memories of Steve Kern and FCW? He was very funny with Haku a few weeks ago. We had Virtual Mania 1, and we had Steve Kern and Haku together, and I'm going to tell you something, I can't remember the last time I laughed that hard, to the point of where I actually almost felt like, this is going awful because I'm just laughing my ass off, but it was one of the most fun signings that we've done yet, so I can only imagine the Steve Kern stories that you guys must have, because he's a wild man.
Well, me personally, when I was in developmental in FCW, I never wanted to upset him. Because he always tells the baby face, fight back, fire. So anytime I wouldn't hurt anyone, but I'd have that fire because I never wanted to upset him.
Wow.
I never wanted to upset him. Dusty, when it came to promos, I was doing them with Percy Watson. We were the South Beach Party Boys. I was always nervous, and I always felt like I shit the bed with the promo, but Dusty always gave me that confidence,
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, I can't believe it that he's giving me that confidence when the promo just sucked,
Yeah.
Dusty giving me that confidence, Steve Kern not wanting to upset him. Those are great guys. I always.
Any funny stories about them with Steve?
I just enjoyed hearing Steve talk about going hunting for gator. And it's funny, it's like I thought that was just a gimmick.
Yeah,
I was
me
like,
too.
I was like, no.
He's
He's like, no, I got the boat and I'm gonna go and should go sometime. I never took him up on it. I feel like I should have.
We said this, and honestly, I thought he was like working me here because I'm sitting here and he goes, yeah, well, it's almost gator season in Florida, and I got to go get the boomstick recharged. And I'm going, wait a minute, like, is he cutting a promo? And then he was like, oh no, I hunt gators. And I'm like, holy shit, now it all makes sense. Like, now I get it. Like he said, he goes, I went into Vince's office, much like to what you guys said, always approachable. He goes, I laid out a bunch of gator skins, and they were like, all right, you're going to be the alligator man. And I'm like, I would never in a million years, and I think especially a man now in his 60s would still be going out there and doing that. It's wild. Absolutely great to hear. So thank you for that question, Thorsten. Matt Stevens in Taylor, South Carolina. That's for Erick Rowan. And Kelly Anderson in Dallas, Texas for Mr. No Days Off. 80swrestlingcon.com. Get those orders in. Don't forget, if you spend over $125 tonight or any of the future signings, we're going to throw in that complimentary 80s Wrestling Con t-shirt. Going to scroll up in the comments here for just a little bit. Seeing if there's anything I missed. We've had a steady stream of viewers throughout the first hour. But don't forget, you can share that link out. Hello to everyone watching live on WrestleZone. All right, next up we got Don Carter in Columbus. Don Carter in Columbus. Oh, I'm sorry. Emil Menard's Will C was in response to Kyle James saying he's taking the title tonight. So, all right, so we're already getting a little bit of a program here between the two bidders for the live auction later. So I apologize to Emil because I didn't see that was a reply to somebody. Next up, New Japan Stan in Bristol, Connecticut. There you go. And we have Angie Giulietta again in Piscataway, New Jersey. To Angie, follow the buzzards. Now I understand you've done the virtual signings before, right? This isn't your first one?
This is not my first one.
And this is your first
one.
Yeah, I would imagine it takes some getting used to, right? Because in person, you're used to the person coming up to you, saying hello.
Yeah, I mean, I like that. I like what we're doing now. Yeah, I mean, it's fun for me.
Yeah.
Sharing my story. I always say that. Don't die with the story. You should
and it is an amazing story, and it's a story that, like I said, I remember you from back in the Indies in New Jersey, and then I got to see you move on up and make your accomplishments. But it's something now that your story has resonated with so many people that it needed to resonate with. And I don't think people really realize what that's like to feel that you have to live in fear or something, and then to be like, wow, you know what, a guy who I watch on TV every week is like me. We have something in common. And now what you've done with this, it's just awesome. And like I said, I think a lot of guys, when they leave, they get to Twitter, they start saying stuff. So it's just so great to be able to have this platform for them to go, hey, you know what? They're still doing great. They're kicking ass, and they're having fun.
I'm not trying to once I'm done with WWE, I'm not trying to hurt my platform. I'm trying to utilize my platform. Like 2020, knock on wood, there's wood under here. I've been lucky with sponsorships, with the pandemic. So I utilize that WWE veteran status name to keep grinding away.
And especially because they're still calling you to come in for projects, telling you to take jackets off. But you got to listen to his podcast for that story.
Bro Wrestling.
So there you go. Chris Getzan in Denver, Colorado, and Tina Heller in the UK. You guys got to try to tell me a little bit about those European trips, though, because I heard that they can be quite brutal. Not much time for sightseeing.
You make your own time.
Oh, okay.
You make the time. That's what I wish I would have done on a lot of the earlier tours. It wasn't just the later tours. I wasn't afraid to go out. I'd go catch metal shows on my own because none of the boys would want to go because they'd be too tired. But no, man, you got to enjoy it. You got to take time. If we had an overnight somewhere, I'd definitely go out and try to find something to do, which I wish I would have done when I first got on the road. But when you're first on the road, you're so drained, you're so tired. All you want to do is drink alcohol, fall asleep.
I'm sure it's different for everybody, but how long would you guys say that it took to get used to the grind? Like where it started to become like I'm sure the first couple weeks or months you're probably like, oh man. But when does it start to kind of feel like second nature? Like, all right, I can do this. Like, this is part of the routine.
Well, for me personally, I'm OCD, so everything is boom, boom, boom.
Okay.
If we have to be to the arena at 5:30 or 5:30, I'm gonna get there probably 4 o'clock because I want to stretch and just get myself situated. I want to be the first one in the locker room, so I pick my spot because I don't like rushing. I don't like being under pressure like that. And I haven't drunk since August 2017.
Okay.
Right before my release. It's just personal preference because I stole this from Chelsea lately. She says that like a lot of her memories she remembers, but it's kind of foggy because of alcohol. So
yeah, well, believe me, I know.
me personally, I would just drink at the wrong time, and right before my release, I got released October 2017. August 2017 was when I stopped drinking and moved out to LA full time because I didn't want to be dependent on that. Because I've said it publicly on my podcasts and interviews that sometimes I drank before Be a Stars, I drank before matches just to take the edge off, and I just didn't want to do that anymore. And I'm not afraid to admit that I've overcome something. So I always say that I traded Tito's vodka, which was my favorite, for green tea.
Okay.
So
I still like my kettle vodka every once in a while, but I tell you, I have noticed at almost 38 years old, if you do indulge every now and again, it takes a long time to recover. And then I think back to those days where I was like, how did I do that 3-4 days in a row? So yeah, with you guys on the road, I've always been in awe of that. And a lot of your guys in this generation have learned the lessons from the mistakes that were made in the past. And so it is refreshing to hear that, some people still want to have a little bit of fun, but it's a lot more under control these days.
I always say you guys can have fun, just don't be violent with me or anyone else because you get that alcohol and you get that liquid courage, Just don't be aggressive with me because I'm going to be running.
No, I hear you. William D. Michelle in Easton, Pennsylvania from Mr. Erick Rowan. And then here we have the hashtag Lock the Hate promo photo. I think someone else had this before, but I'm making notice of it now. Adam Pop in Michigan City, Indiana. Carlos Caballero, thank you for the kind words. I appreciate that very much. Kyle James, we were asked about him a little bit earlier. It was not discussed, but 80swrestlingcon.com. If you also want to see what we were talking about earlier with Steve Kern and Haku, all of these signings are available on the website in the coming days. I am in the auction bidding tonight if I can find a way to pay. 80s Wrestling says PayPal for your last winnings is 80swrestlingpicks@gmail.com. I think we will figure out when it's time to get to the auction that these gentlemen want to do how we'll go about payment for that. But more on that in just a little bit. Right now, Annie Spivey, another 80s Wrestling regular. Marion, South Carolina, Annie Spivey. And Dan Monker in Taylor, South Carolina.
And speaking of Haku, I have a match against his son Hikuleo this Friday. No disqualification for New Japan Strong, so definitely check it out.
All right,
all the details on my social media. Remember CTE? I can't remember, so go to my social media.
There you go. Well, give your social media a quick plug.
Real Fred Rosser, my government name, not Darren Young. My government name, Real Fred Rosser. I'm not getting no damn lawsuits.
Anthony Rhodes, will we see Eric in AEW again? You said you just want to wrestle. I don't know what...
That's my comment.
There you go. He just wants to wrestle, so let them know.
How about just say I want to fight?
He wants to fight. All right. Bob Allen in Johnson City, Tennessee. 80swrestlingcon.com. Get those orders in. Spend $125 tonight or any future signing. And we got a bunch of great ones coming up. We're going to be back next week with Nikita Koloff. Spend that $125, get that complimentary t-shirt. Don't forget you can share this link to all your friends. They can order a photo.
I'm just not going to do that.
Next we got
this.
I got it.
All right.
Sly Fitsenko, and Mike Collins in New York. Mike Collins in New York. Carlos Caballero, remember seeing Bone Crusher arriving to Uncasville as early as 12 noon for an 8 p.m. show.
Wait, say it again, I'm sorry.
Remember seeing Bone Crusher arrive to Uncasville, I think that's Connecticut, because Mohegan Sun is there, as early as 12 noon for an 8 p.m. show. So, I don't know, was there a show at Mohegan Sun that you got there at noon for an 8 o'clock show? Maybe a pay-per-view?
Oh, yeah, probably like TV, right?
I would imagine.
All TV, you showed up.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful arena, too, that they have in Mohegan.
What, do you have to walk through the casino or something to get to the arena?
I used to do the comedy club at the Cabaret Theater, and we had to walk through. I think the arena, they had to have a separate entrance because they had some big, I mean, they had WWE there. They had some rock and roll shows, things of that nature. Next up, we have Emile Menard, our auction champion. So there you go for Emile. And then Jen, I think that says Teller. So Jen Teller or Jeller or Feller. It's one of the three, but it looks like Teller. Jen Teller in Indiana.
Took you a long time to read that.
Yeah, well, because sometimes with our catering manager Ian Levy, when he makes the signs, I'm like, sometimes a T looks like an F, a J, you know. So it's the grease from the pizza. It's on the, This is an interesting question because we talked about some of this. Tawny Estrella, how have you both learned to adapt yourselves to the business? And I guess that could mean wrestling or just business in general. How have you both learned to adapt yourselves to the business during COVID, and how do you think that will affect the way you do things after COVID? On that note, next up we got Jason Richardson in Lowellville, New York, not to be confused with Lowellville, Kentucky. And then Joseph Schlechter in Mantua, New Jersey. I mean, you were talking about some sponsorships and whatnot. Eric had talked about finding other things that he was passionate about off Broadway. Do you think the business is forever changed because of COVID, or do you think we're going to go back to maybe more normalcy?
What do you think, big man?
I think it's going back.
Okay.
I mean, look at UFC and how filled that arena was, and think about how people need to get out. People need to go, do things. You can't just coop people up and expect them not to have outlets to have this. Like, I love going to movie theaters. Personally, I love going to concerts because they create this emotion within me when I'm watching it or experiencing it, which is what people experience when they're watching wrestling, when they're going to football games, and when you cope people up and think about the divorce rate just within the last year. I mean, you're right. And domestic violence, just rises in cases. Nobody talks about this stuff. They just say, okay, well, there's this, mass shooting happening over here. Well, what's going on within these families, right now?
Mental health,
they're stuck together.
alcohol.
Get people out. Get people, going places as a family. You know what I mean? And that's what people need. And I see things starting to come back, so I don't see why, wrestling's going to be like. Could you imagine those live crowds?
Well, let me ask you this, though, from a performer standpoint, though, do you feel that it could be detrimental to some guys? Because, again, a lot of people now, it's been 14 months, going on 15 months, and WWE, for example, never stopped. So these guys were wrestling in empty arenas, and there was Thunderdome. They still push those storylines, this, that. Are there going to be some situations when the fans come back where it's going to be almost like an audible, because some of these people that did get called up when there were no fans are now going to maybe not know how to work in front of 40,000 people the same way? The ones that got called up, like, do you think that could be detrimental? Not guys like you that already had the experience. I'm talking about these guys
the thing
coming
is,
up
for
now.
me, the true test is performing in front of a New Japan crowd. All of this stuff is in studio-type settings. And the studio-type settings, it's like we're creating a movie, It's just... It is what it is, live combat theater, so I had to make the most of it. During that process, it's a small number to other people, but to me, 20,000 fans voted on me having match of the year with Filthy Tom Lawler for New Japan Strong, so that's my biggest honor. But the true test for me is performing in front of a crowd, and I'm either going to shit the bed or the response is going to be tremendous for me.
And what about you?
Well, first off, underrated. No, I just think I think it's a little detrimental right now, because if you think about a lot of people with WWE, and specifically, they're only working like once or twice a week. You know what I mean? Imagine when that schedule starts and the wear and tear on the body starts. You're going to start seeing more injuries. It's just the nature of the business. And I don't know if they're going to go back to complete live events. It's a whole logistical issue with payments and all that. But I know fans are going to be, yearning for it. And the typical family can't afford to go to a WWE pay-per-view event or a live television event, but they can afford to go to a live event. And the live events, at least when I was there, and I know when you were there, those were the funnest.
Yeah.
Because you had time to work, you had time to interact with the crowd, and that's what, you know, I'm looking forward to the most with fans being back, is interacting with people.
Yeah.
Because without people, we don't do what we do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm very hopeful within this time next year, it's going to be night and day with what's going on.
Now, one of the things when we had Jake the Snake Roberts, he said, he goes, I can't imagine what these guys are going through right now. He said, because, you know, I think about it, an empty arena, that shit hurts. He said, there's all these people. He goes, we don't think about how it hurts. He goes, because we just don't. He goes, and you know, again, the Thunderdome is deceiving because you're hearing the piped-in audio at home, but those guys are still working in front of a silent room. So I don't know how they've been able to do it, but
the fans' reaction, it helps cushion the blows that we take in the ring.
yeah, without a doubt. Marvin Jackson in Allentown, Pennsylvania. Talk about a wrestling town. There you go.
Allentown, WXW. You know WXW.
Yes,
right?
yes. And Jack Gunter in L.A. I don't know if that meant Los Angeles or Louisiana, but how you doing, Jack? And that is for Mr. Fred Rosser. Thorsten Fritz, how many sheep masks has Erick used in WWE, and does he still have a box of them for auctions or Halloween? I don't know. I don't know if he wants to wear them for Halloween, but...
This original one, I believe, was burned in a fire. It's plastic.
Oh, wow.
Because the WWE never mass-produced the bigger ones. And I took the outline of this one with my friend Jason Baker, Tom Savini, and we made latex mold, which I still have to this day, where everyone is handcrafted.
Oh, okay.
So WWE doesn't own any of them because I
There you go.
made them, you know. But I will say that I think in my house alone I have maybe 6 or 7 that I used on television that are displayed.
Well, that's cool.
But I also have 10 different ones, different paintings, different things that I maybe used on house shows and didn't get put on television. Some of them I still have that I want to do something with. I'm thinking of creative ways to do it. But yeah, I have a lot, and they're not plastic.
There you go. Anthony Rhodes says, one of my favorite bands is Typo Negative. Do you like them, Erick? If so, what is your favorite album?
I mean, I hadn't heard a lot of them, and I know when I go up to Duff's, I know that they always show respect to the steel.
Yeah.
So I'll listen to a couple of songs. I don't really know a lot of them, and now that he says it, I think I'm going to go and listen. Because I know I had a friend in junior high that had a Typo Negative, like just like a bunch of CDs. Yeah. So I'm going to have to.
Wrestling and rock and roll will always
Is
go
it
hand in
Peter
hand.
Steele?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes. I didn't want to get that
I'm
wrong.
more of an
I didn't want to
80s
get that wrong.
I'm more of an 80s hair metal guy. You know, I'm more into like, you know, the Skid Row, Poison, you know. So
Which Skid
Typo
Row?
Negative, the Sebastian Bach, the
Okay.
original Skid Row.
You don't
Yeah.
like the new Skid Row?
Not that I don't like them. It's just that, I mean, to me, Sebastian Bach will always be the lead vocalist of Skid Row. I mean, you know, but hey,
And with that note, I'm leaving him for 2 minutes because I have the bladder of a peanut.
nothing wrong with that. We all sometimes just got to get up and go. Brenda Trilly in Baton Rouge. That's definitely Louisiana. I know that much. I paid attention in 5th grade geography. So, 80swrestlingcon.com. Mr. Erick Rowan / Redbeard just stepped out for a second.
To go number 2.
No, well, you could say that when he's not here. Get mighty brave when the man leaves the room. Don't get me. I don't know what kind of stuff you're saying.
Yeah, I love him, man. He's a teddy bear.
I don't want to block the hate. Block the big, angry, redheaded guy when he comes back. But no, we're having a great time here with, oh my God, he's got so many different names. I knew him as Bone Crusher Fred Sampson.
Yeah.
You knew him as Darren Young, Mr. No Days Off Fred Rosser, and of course Erick Rowan. We're having a great time here like we do all the time with Monday Night Virtual.
Shoot.
Thank you for all joining us, participating in the chat.
Gold. Can we do one?
Yeah, we'll do
Sorry
another.
about
We'll
that.
get another.
Shit.
We're just going to take it out of your auction. It's all right.
You can do that. I'm sorry. I wasn't paying attention.
That's all, whatever. Hunter Maddox in Kentucky. We're going to keep these going. Dennis Grinnell says, yes, the house shows are the best. I've always enjoyed the interactions. If you guys have any questions or comments, as you can tell, they're great guests. Very informative conversations we're having. Get those comments and questions in the chat. Don't forget, if you spend more than $125 tonight or on any future signing, we're going to throw in that 80s Wrestling Con t-shirt. I always say I like doing these because I feel like it's like I'm a 1990s QVC host. You know? Remember they used to flip through the channels? There was Home Shopping Network, QVC.
Yes, of course.
Now we get it right here on Facebook and at WrestleZone.com. Lots of great questions tonight. Lots of great comments. Keep them coming in. What's this new one? Tawny Estrella, not a question, but I've got to say, this is such a fun, well, and organized virtual signing. Thanks so much. Thank you, Tawny. Like I said, a lot of times, the guests really make the great signing. The comments, the questions, you guys keep coming in with them. So it's really a tag team scenario. We can't do it without you. Thank you guys for the support. Here we have Cindy Labosco in Tampa. Purple Signature Parade of Champions. Now this, I believe, well, it says right there, City of New York Pride Parade. Yeah. Right there. What year was that?
That was 2019.
Oh, okay.
World Pride Parade.
Looking through these questions and comments. How was it working with Abraham Washington? I hated when they broke you guys.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. He said what he said. That cost him to get fired.
Oh, you know what? I'll be honest with you. I had a little bit of a brain fart there, and as soon as you said that, I went, ah!
Yeah,
now I remember.
You remember?
Yeah.
But he was always kind to me in Florida Championship Wrestling. He was just so talented. Something that definitely could have taken off. And again, he was a talker. You know,
Yeah.
He would help me with little things to say when we were working together. But he was our mouthpiece. It's just unfortunate that he had got released.
Yeah, no, and things like that happen. And look, as someone, I've been in stand-up comedy for so many years, it's like there's a lot of times I'll either listen to a recording and I'll go, ooh, you know, that didn't age well, or ooh, if that's taken out of context, that could be really bad. So I've always had a little bit of a soft spot when I've seen talented people go through stuff like that, because a lot of times it's really not intent, it is context. But that's, you know, the unfortunate reality of the world we live in currently. But that's why it's great for someone like you who has his own podcast. You know, you have the opportunity to go out there, get your own message out. So that's always really cool to see. And more of these New Japan, not New Jersey, New Japan pro wrestling 8x10. This one's for Larry.
But it does look like it could be I Love New York or I Love New Jersey.
There you go. You know, if that's not a tiger, it's a horse. But there you go. Larry Trongone in Beaver Dam. I'm assuming that's Wisconsin. Gold and signature. 80swrestlingcon.com. When Mr. Redbeard gets back, I'm going to take a quick powder, and Vicky can take over for me. But no, when he gets back.
You can do a powder when we're live?
Yeah, well, you know, if you got to pee real quick, you know, you got to do what you got to do. I think he really might be taking that number 2. This has been a very long absence, but keep those questions and comments coming. Don't forget, we're going to have that virtual auction where we have some in-ring worn stuff from Mr. Young, a Nexus t-shirt, as well as some trunks. Erick Rowan's got some jumpsuits that he wore in the ring, as well as some t-shirts of rock bands. I can't pronounce any of those rock bands. They're a little too hardcore for me, but he'll be able to pronounce them for you when we get that over. We're going to be doing that live auction later on. Next up, Mr. No Days Off, Peter Ballering in St. Louis, Missouri. Don't forget about all the great upcoming signings that we have. Go to 80swrestlingcon.com. Next week, we're going to be here with Nikita Koloff. Don't forget about Virtual Mania 2, Sunday, August 22nd. What a lineup that's going to be. It's going to be headlined by Mark Henry. We also have D'Lo Brown. We have the Headbangers and Billy Gunn.
You know, one thing about Mark Henry is I always share the story about before I came out, I got brought up onto the main roster with the original NXT, and I share the story all the time, and he said when he writes a book, one of the chapters is going to be # insert foot and mouth, because when I got brought up to the roster, I had the gold sequence around my hair, front of my head. My hair was spiked up, and he was sitting in the locker room. He's like, "Boy, why you got your hair like that? Makes you look gay."
Oh.
And I was like, "Mark, man, I'm just trying to look different. I'm stuttering. I'm just trying to stand out." And then fast forward to when I came out publicly. He was one of the first guys to at SummerSlam hotel room. He was, the SummerSlam hotel. He said, "Come down to the green room," and I came down to the green room, and he was like, "Man, how come you didn't tell me, man? I have cousins." I said, "Mark, I was just fearful." And then from then on, him and I drove together for almost 5 years, and every time we got to our destination, Mark Henry's wife would be like, "Oh, Fred, thank you so much for getting Mark to, the hotel. I appreciate it because, Mark has to sleep sometimes at the wheel."
Oh.
That's why I like to do all my driving. So that's my story about Big Man Mark.
That's great, and I'm glad that you brought that up because I remember when it became the TMZ story.
Yeah.
You were at, I don't know what airport you were at.
LAX.
And there was a big trend there for a while where there were a lot of guys, and it always confused me because sometimes I would say, well, are those guys really TMZ or are they people that are going up to these wrestlers with cameras and being like, "Hey, talk"?
Yeah.
So was that something that just kind of came off like, because I forget exactly what they were referencing, but you said, well, by the way, I'm gay.
Yeah.
And was that something that you had been planning and waiting for the right moment, or it just kind of came out and you were like, well, now it's out there? If you'd like to share that story.
Yeah, well, when we did the Nexus, we were approached by TMZ, but I came out at a time when we didn't have a relationship with TMZ. Now WWE has a relationship with them now. But I came out, I don't know if I was out by anyone, but I was asked what TMZ asked me, and I felt like it was the right place and the right time to say what I said. And there are many reasons why I came out. One of the main reasons I came out was because I wanted to be able to bring my boyfriend backstage into the masculine world of professional wrestling, be able to walk the red carpet with him, and I was able to do all that. He made some great friends, I remember my ex saying that he wasn't a big wrestling fan, but one of his favorite wrestlers during the Attitude Era was Steve Austin. And he got an opportunity to meet Steve Austin. Steve Austin absolutely stopped everything he was doing.
Wow.
And was like, "How you enjoying WrestleMania, kid?"
That's awesome. Not bad, not bad.
Yeah. I can't do him.
Wasn't bad, though.
But he was just so kind. Talked to him right before he was doing his show. And that's what it's all about. Being able to just embrace who you are, be able to bring people backstage. So yeah, it was an amazing experience.
And I'm sure you didn't even think at the time, or even maybe in the days and weeks afterwards, how many people it would touch, like I kind of alluded to earlier.
Yeah, I didn't realize my story was a big deal until, of all people, the icon Cher reached out to me in the DM. And I still have the screenshot, and she said that she heard my story. Because of her hearing my story, one of her friends who's a big wrestling fan came out to his family. Wow. So she thanked me. And it was that moment that I realized that my story was a big fucking deal.
Yeah.
So that's why my fight's much more bigger than in the ring. It's outside of the ring, fighting bigotry and hatred. For example, I met a fan who I had met, and then a couple weeks later, he had reached out to me, a straight guy, and said that he was debating committing suicide because his girlfriend had cheated on him and they had broke up. So I took it seriously, and I'm not a doctor, I'm not a psychiatrist, but I'm a friend. So I met this fan, and when he said this to me on social media, after I met him, I sent him a video message saying, just talking him out of it.
Yeah.
And then a year and a half later, he was getting married to a new girl. About 2 years later, he told me he was getting married to a different girl. So just imagine a life that had probably saved just by being a friend. So that's why my whole Block the Hate movement comes from the heart.
Yeah, it's an amazing story, and you had mentioned Chelsea Handler before. There's a comedian who I came up with named Thomas Dale, and he was a regular on her panel. And I remember there was like one of those Facebook groups between comedians, and there's certain things that you just don't think of, as a straight male. And I remember the big news story was that the Boy Scouts of America were going to not question sexual orientation. And as a straight guy, you think, well, it doesn't matter, they're kids. And he said to me, he goes, when you were 5 years old, and you came home from kindergarten. He goes, did your mother, your grandmother, your aunt, anybody say, so do you have a little girlfriend? Or do you have anybody that you like? And I went, yeah. He goes, yeah. He goes, and you didn't know what sex was. He goes, you didn't even know what those parts did. But you knew that there was that girl who you liked. And he said, I had that guy, but then everybody asking me, oh, do you have a girlfriend, whatever. And then when you, something so simple, when you hear it from that perspective, you say, oh, shit. So like I said, the fact that you could share that, and with kids, especially during the PG era, because that was the thing too, everybody always crapped on, oh, it's PG. Well, those are the kids who probably, needed it the most. So awesome that you're still out there.
I have a question for you. So do you notice now that you're doing more of the independent shows, or when you, after you got let go and we're doing the independent shows, did you notice a lot more of the kids that were on the independents that were able to come out and talk to you about like that?
Yeah, I mean, once I came out, it was like a domino effect. I guess from people seeing my story and hearing my story, it made it a lot easier for them to come out and pursue the wrestling career when it comes to wrestlers. But for me, when I came out on a different side, I met more like transgender type fans in the South, than ever. I'm like, wow, like you would have never thought, So yeah, whether people are fans and come up to me for inspiration, or whether it's like wrestlers that are inspired by my story, yeah, man, a lot.
It's cool, man.
It is awesome. It's great, great stuff. Brian Werner in Wildwood, New Jersey. And once again, Emil Menard right there with the New Japan photo. Please continue.
And I'm sorry, and I hate to toot my own horn. Like, for me, 2020 getting match of the year with New Japan Strong, I got it because I'm talented. I didn't get it because I was gay. I got it because I'm really.
Why, do you deal with some of that though? Like people like saying stuff like that?
I always say no. I always say if they don't know me personally, I don't take it personal.
Okay.
If I was younger, I would have. It would have hurt me, but as the older I get, I don't care.
And if anyone does have that ridiculous theory, it just doesn't make sense in the fact that if they wanted to apply that logic, then you would have never been released. You would have been in WWE forever. So it's just such a stupid logic. That's the one thing. Like sometimes I see what you guys go through, and the Instagram comments and the stuff that you have to read.
That's why I treat when people spit hate at me, I treat it like a rifle. I just block the hate. Boom.
There you go.
Block them, delete them. They're dead to me.
Alan Kennedy, question for Rowan. Did you know about the Fiend gimmick beforehand? If so, how long was it in the works? And were you all supposed to be involved in the Fiend gimmick?
I didn't ask about it.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess.
But I know the guy that was making it, so obviously he was telling me all about it.
Yeah,
like his close friend of mine. So like, it's a cool like idea for a character. Like, but when I watched what they did to it, like,
yeah,
you got to remember I was I can't remember what I think it was Hell in a Cell, because I remember that because it was me and Brody versus Roman and Daniel, and we had great chemistry together, and everything was feeling good. And I remember going back and watching by the monitor and watching The Fiend and Seth, and I know there's a lot of talk, the Twitter talk about setting the business back 30 years. I think that set it back about 50.
Yeah, there was like 15 curb stomps or something, and then
and I seriously think no matter how safe you're trying to be, you got to protect your head, and there's no helmet underneath that Fiend mask, so I didn't like it.
Yeah,
and
well, especially after what you went through yourself.
And then they set him on fire, and I kind of wondered to myself, well, when fans come back, what else are they going to do?
Yeah.
And then I watched some indie people, speaking of Twitter, it just shows up on your feed, Yeah. I saw some you see this? Some kid gets gasoline poured
Oh my God!
On his crotch and lit on fire, and his head's up. Well, so he's selling, but he's looking. He's like, well, why don't you just get up and move? But then he gets weed whacked.
Oh.
But then he like gets up and tries running around and taking the pants off, but nothing's happening. I don't see no fire extinguishers. This is the indie show with their pyrotechnic
Unreal.
And if you are the guy that took the move, please send me a message via Twitter, because I would love to have a conversation with you, just to find out why you trusted that guy to pour gasoline on you. Because yes, I did the Inferno match, and even though we had people there that were rubbing on grease on us to step over the fire, and I was still scared out of my mind that I was going to be set on fire.
Well, that's a very realistic fear. I mean,
So don't emulate what you see on television. They set the Fiend on fire. Don't set yourself on fire.
There's been times I've been to WWE shows where I was in like the third or fourth row, and you feel the pyro from Kane, and you go, "Holy shit!"
Yes,
So I couldn't imagine just doing any spot, standing in a ring for an Inferno match. So whenever I see that,
I've been seeing that stuff a lot. Like I remember I did an indie show once a long time ago, and our finish was a body slam, or a chair shot to the head, and a body slam on concrete. That was the finish. The concrete. The crowd went crazy because it was a smaller guy that body slammed me. It was a story told of this big street fight. The match after us was the main event. The main event, their big finish was they're going to have barbed wire over a table, and then they're going to light the table on fire. The table doesn't go on fire.
oh no,
They keep lighting it. It won't light. So they're taking all this time to light it. And I'm kind of watching in the back. These kids have already went through mouse traps and fluorescent light bulbs. So I'm just laughing like, what are they doing? And the crowd starts booing. This is the finish to the match. He finally just picks him up, slams him on top of the table. The table doesn't break.
oh.
So, kids, please,
Yeah,
don't try this at home.
exactly. Fun stuff. More for Emile Menard.
You gotta be smart.
We got to play some
I know,
catch up
I
with
know.
you right there. So that's from Emile Menard right
But that's
there.
but that's one thing I want to do someday is I want to do a death match. If I do, see, before the pandemic hit, like I was trying to get some shows down in Tampa to do like indie shows, and I couldn't like get anything. And then this one promotions that I was talking to said, "Oh yeah, we have a spot for you to do a death match. Me do a death match." I'm like, I said the only way I'll do a death match is against Moxley
Yeah.
because I trust him.
Yeah, no, well,
trust
they just did on Dark Side of the Ring the Nick Gage story, which was mind blowing.
Yeah, I saw.
And yeah, I mean, hey,
But
to each their own.
I just want to do it once, but I just want to do it with Moxley.
You're just talking about, you got your mother sitting here, you're going to freak her out, get her all
Yeah,
nervous.
I
You're
would-
talking about musical theater. I mean, Ma, don't let him do a death match.
Yeah, thumbtacks.
Come
I want
on.
to go do thumbtacks. I want to bleed.
Speaking of Many Week, I did work a show. It was supposed to be in a ring, but it was for a place called No Peace Underground. It was that's known for their death matches. But I was kind of told, okay, it will be in a ring. As you know, it rained horribly that night. I think it was the Saturday. It was the midnight show.
Oh, this is the most recent Mania.
Yes,
Okay.
and so I get there, and it's moved out of the ring. They don't want to do it in the ring upstairs. That's inside because some of the guys wanted to use light tubes. So we ended up doing like a Lionheart setup. Like you have a stage, and then like the pit area, and then all the fans are going to be up and around. So yes, I inadvertently booked myself into a death match.
Oh, that's cool.
And I will say, the fans there were not disappointed. They had fun, and I didn't have to go through light tubes or bleed.
But I want that. I want to do that.
It's
one time.
It's fun, but like you said, you got to trust the guy. Luckily, I was working a guy that I trusted.
Yeah.
That's great.
That's one thing. You trust somebody with your life, with wrestling. And I think that's why a lot of us are friends in their life, or stay in contact with each other, or friendly with people, because what you do in the ring, when I pick you up, I'm responsible for you. If I drop you on your head and you break your neck, that is my fault. And vice versa. If I let you pick me up and you put me down, you're responsible for other people's bodies.
Yeah.
I mean, it takes two to tango, and it's up to you, if you don't know what the guy's limitations are, to call the match.
Now, I'm glad you said that, though, because earlier on we were talking, and I forget exactly who exactly we were talking about, but you had mentioned a night off. It was Cesaro, and you said it's a night. Yeah, whenever I hear a wrestler say that, I always wonder, does you mean a night off as in you don't have to worry about getting hurt, or it's just a great match that you don't even really have to worry. It's just going to be great no matter what. What exactly does a wrestler mean when he says, "Oh yeah, working that guy's a night off"?
Like me, like for me, for example, Bo Dallas. I love Bo Dallas. It would literally take 3 minutes for us to like plan a story, and then that's it. Then everything else would just go on field. It's so easy, but it would be still
A good match.
A solid.
Yeah.
Solid.
That's great. That's great. And I love hearing that there's certain guys that just seems like everyone has that to say about. They're almost like prodigies.
And then you just saying that right now made me think about somebody I should have said when he said underrated, but he's kind of getting the shot to shine now, just not in the way I wish he'd be able to shine, but Apollo Crews.
Oh,
yes.
yes.
Oh, which
Like,
that gimmick is hilarious.
I did a loop with him, half my shoulder was torn, and it was still like a night off. This is right before I had my surgery on my shoulder.
And what, you're still working with him?
Huh?
What, you're still working with him?
Yeah.
Wow.
Great stuff. Next, we have Jen O'Brien in Rochelle, New York, and Sky Lovato in Los Angeles, California. Dennis Grinnell wants to know, does Rowan still talk to Daniel Bryan? Thoughts of working with him? Sorry if already asked. It was not asked, and I was going to get to it eventually. How did that come to be, that Daniel Bryan storyline with you as his hired muscle?
So he's busy being a dad, and I know how busy that is. Yeah, man, that was weird because we just came off the Bludgeon Brothers run, and it was at a SummerSlam, and I got hurt. I tore my bicep mid-match. We finished the match. Fast forward 2 days, because it was a Sunday. I skipped the Monday house show, and I wrestled Tuesday because we had to give up the belts, which is still one of my favorite matches, which is weird considering it was so hurt. But then I'm out. They weren't using John at all the entire time I was out, which was an injustice at the time, with a lot of stuff is. And so when I come back, he's not even being on the road. He's not even being used. And I'm told, okay, well, do you have a flannel shirt? I think it was Brian James that told me, and I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, you got a flannel shirt?
So there were no plans to put you guys back together. This is...
Yeah, this is my first time hearing it. It's like the week before, because I got cleared, and then the next week was the Rumble, and I'm like, what? He's like, oh yeah, we want to kind of dress like Daniel. I'm like, what? Yeah, shave your beard a little bit so it gets nice and trimmed. And I was like, so you want me to just be his doppelganger? Luckily, I talked out of having to shave the beard, but which is why it's always smart to go in the office.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, the first call I made was to John, and I'm like, hey dude, like this is not me pitching this. Like, how do you feel about this? Because I know he's been sitting on his ass, and like that shouldn't happen if I'm the one that get hurt, and he's the one that's been there. So like I was upset at first, you know what I mean? But with wrestling, it keeps ticking, it keeps going, and you roll with the punches.
And I feel like maybe...
Which is whether it's a good gimmick or a bad gimmick, you know?
Yeah.
You know, because then, you know, that led to a lot of awesome things in that company, a lot of opportunities that opened up people's eyes to what I could do, and like just a fraction of what I could do. But with everything, when you're growing up and they don't like it, they put you right back down. I'm not saying the cage was a bad idea. But I'm saying you don't invest so much time in character development to halt it with a gimmick. But yeah.
How much of that do you guys, and you guys already have like awesome attitudes about your experiences and whatnot, but how much of it do you think has to do with the fact that there's just, well, one, so many talented guys that are signed to the roster, and two, there are only so many hours of TV, and there is a lot. I mean, there is something to be said for the less is more, but how do you do that? I mean, like, for example, you and Titus O'Neil as primetime players, I mean, you guys had a little feud there that culminated on either a Raw or a Superstars. Like, it didn't even make it to pay-per-view, and it's not that it wasn't good, it just, it ended its run because they had to move on to something else. Like, I feel like in the old days where we only had, WWF Superstars, a 1 hour Monday Night Raw, 2 hours, you looked forward to those pay-per-views and whatnot. I mean, do you think if it was the territory days, you guys would have been able to stay together and not?
I was about to say to him, did you guys have a feud that ended on a Raw or SmackDown? And if you did, I bet you had more time than me and Harper had when we had a feud that accumulated in 2 weeks at Backlash, like it was a pay-per-view, and we were between, we were semi-main right after a championship match, right before a championship match, with I think 10 minutes total.
I
They
remember
cut
that.
down to 9, so it was a sprint that nobody cared about because they were so tired from the investment of the match before. Which is, placement in the card is a big thing.
Huge thing.
Yeah, I mean, you always heard about the popcorn matches and intermissions. And I think the funnest popcorn matches I had were with John when I would fight him. I don't know if you were there at the time, but I did the clown gimmick with him, where I didn't tell anybody, and I went to Walmart and I bought some balloons, and it's a popcorn match. So I'm like, what can get the attention of the crowd? So I come out with these balloons, and I'm the heel. Come with these balloons, I'm wearing the clown mask, just looking around.
Oh, that's fantastic.
I get in the ring, or go around to the kids, I get in the ring, do the introduction, and then I kind of look to the kids like, balloon, one balloon. I go, I hand the child a balloon. Child holds the balloon, looks over at mom and dad, I pop it right in his face, get in the ring, take off the mask, laugh, and then he comes out and he's the bad guy. And then the crowd actually gets invested and they're loud. But like, I think it's all in how you structure these matches, especially in things. But sometimes,
But that's something you could do at a lot of events.
But sometimes in pay-per-views,
Yeah.
when you don't have the time, and it's a feud where you need to beat the crap out of each other, and it's a fight with purpose, you ruin some of that,
No, I've been
that
there.
emotion.
I've been there.
Remember those Jersey indie shows where every match the babyface had to let you know he was the babyface coming out? "Yeah," everybody, you're like, all right, the last 4 matches did that. So there is, like you said, something to be said. But like you had said, I remember that feud with you and Titus. It was something where he wrapped you up, had the handful of tights, you came back, did it, and then I think it ended like in a tag match where you had different partners or something like that. And it's like, that could have had a pay-per-view match. I mean,
Yeah, no, I think we might have had a pay-per-view match. It just wasn't, the positioning wasn't where it should have been.
Yeah.
But I've been there. I've been there.
I almost had a feud with Titus once.
Oh, yeah. Oh, when? On when?
This was a main event,
Oh.
and the only reason I remember it is because we did this backstage segment with Chess, and then the next week I worked Kane, and the only reason I remember is he was wearing a suit. He was so adamant that he wanted to get soaking wet with a Slurpee that he had to while he's doing commentary on the match. So I think I like slammed Kane's head into the announce desk and just got Slurpee all over him. And then with most things, we never had a match, nothing.
No, I've been there.
Fred
The only-
Marcel
yeah, the
in
only match
Memphis.
was you.
Fred
Yeah.
Marcel
Yeah.
in Memphis. And we're moving along, having a lot of fun with these guys, a lot of great stories. Kevin Lerner in Tampa, Florida. I was going to ask how long it had been since you guys had been in contact, but then I found out that you almost broke his arm very recently. So you guys are still out there doing your thing. Neil Menard wants to know, Eric, how long did it take to grow your beard?
That is the typical question, and you should be ashamed of yourself, because if you look it up online, you'll find out that the human hair grows at an average length of 1 inch per, I don't know, what is it?
I don't know. We're both bald.
That's a good question.
But way to tell the auction guy that he
After-
should be ashamed of himself before the auction.
After 3 years, I stopped caring. So,
He was just kidding. You shouldn't be ashamed of yourself. Get that money out. Anyway, 80swrestlingcon.com. We're having a lot of fun. A lot of great signings coming up. Nikita Koloff next week. Don't forget about Virtual Mania in August. We got the Honky Tonk Man at the end of September.
Oh, Honky Tonk Man, let me tell
Oh,
you,
please
he's the
tell me.
first legend that I wrestled.
He was the first guy to tell me to try stand-up comedy.
Oh,
he
yeah?
because he would say, he's like, damn it, you're funny, kid, but why are you out there calling me old? There's something about him. A lot of people have negative things to say about him. I love him.
Yeah, I love him too. I love him. He would always say, you know what I'm saying? You're going to be something someday. And like, I was new, green.
Yeah.
And he was right. He was the first legend I wrestled.
That's awesome.
And the one thing about I tell the new people getting into wrestling is you got to pay attention. You have to just listen, pay attention. If I'm wrestling wrestling someone that's new and they pay attention to me, you're gold to me. You know.
One of the things he said to me, I was managing a guy, and they were wrestling against each other, and I cut a promo, you know, the heel manager thing, and he said to me afterwards, he's like, why did you run me down and call me old and all this other stuff? And I said, oh, well, I'm sorry that I offended you. He goes, no, you dumb shit. He goes, I'm not coming back, but that guy has to, and I just beat him. And I was like, oh, shit, good point, you know? And so it's like the little things like that, you know, we've all seen those guys that just come in, sit down, take their money, and go home. Yeah. But for a guy to actually go that extra mile, I'm sure you had that on the Indies in Minneapolis, being from where, you know, you're from. I'm sure you had plenty of those teachable moments from guys. Oh, yeah. Jumpin' Jay from the 80s Wrestling Podcast right there.
Always listen. That was the early goal. Listen and don't talk back.
Yeah. And also Jumpin' Jay, 80s Wrestling Podcast for you. Make sure you guys check out 80s Wrestling the Podcast on your favorite podcast platforms. iTunes, Spotify, and Stitcher. Visit 80swrestlingcon.com. Starting to get a little tongue-tied over here. It happens. But that's where you can see the list of all the upcoming signings we have. We'll be back next Monday with Nikita Koloff. So many great signings coming up. Keep those comments and questions coming in the chat. You can also feel free to share the link.
And 80s Wrestling, are you guys going to do shows eventually, or have you done shows?
Tommy Fierro promoted shows for quite a while. Yeah. Oh, you've worked with Tommy in the past?
Yeah.
That was before my... Tommy never booked me, the bastard. Anyway, but I think you may have something coming up. Well, before the pandemic, you were starting to do stuff again, too. So,
hopefully I can be a part of it.
There you go. Wayne Arlington in New Mexico and Jennifer Wagner in California. Vicky, could you sit in for me for a second?
Yes, sir.
Oh, look at Mike shaking his head no. He's the director. All right, I'll be back in just a little bit. I'm going to put my mask on and utilize the lavatory. I'll be right back. Vicious Vicky, ladies and gentlemen.
That's right. The vivacious Vicious Vicky. I hate
sorry.
to be Vicious Vicky
that.
because it makes me sound weird. Sometimes it's time for a name change. So, anywhoosies, guys, 80s Wrestling family, here I am filling in for probably about 5 minutes, but here we are again. Guys, it's an honor to have you here. I'm very much enjoying this, very, very much. There was a couple questions that were asked, and bringing it back to like old school and old times and whatnot. And you know, Fred, with me, I watched you growing up. I did, you know. So this is a guy here who paved the way for me. Easily said. You know, I was like 11 or 12 watching you first row, Bone Crusher, Fred Sampson, like the whole thing. And I even remember the theme song. It was "Shout 2000" by Disturbed.
Shout by Disturbed.
And I love that song to this day.
I came out to
love
that.
song.
Really?
No, I didn't pick it. I didn't pick it. My coach
I love
did.
Disturbed, so.
I didn't pick it, but I love it. Like I love that. It would get me into
awesome.
it, but I didn't pick it.
You ever see him live?
No, I didn't
Who
see them
picked it?
live.
That's what I need to know.
You're right.
Kevin
Who
Knight.
picked? Did
Kevin
he?
Knight, my
Okay.
trainer. But
And
I
he
loved
had
it.
Machine Head by Bush.
Yeah.
See,
He's
you're
married
talking
to
about
an
metal,
ex-
Eric, and I'm a big metalhead, so.
The singer.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, from Disturbed?
Yeah.
Oh, what
Really?
diva?
You know,
Oh, you don't know? Oh.
like I met him once, and I think he was talking about his wife was a WWE diva or WWF diva.
Yeah, that was like my first theme, like back in like 03.
It was amazing. It was
Yeah.
hype. Every time you came out, I was like, shit, had like the little like
Yeah.
symbols in the
Yeah.
beginning. It got you so hyped.
Yeah, I got hyped too.
Oh my goodness gracious. So we're gonna keep going with this. We'll keep talking about that. Cornelius Wagner, Kentucky. That's for you.
What, you were gonna get on me because that's kind of like heavy metal? I don't consider that heavy metal.
It's
but
like hard rock.
It's hard
Yeah.
rock.
Hard
It's
rock.
90s hard rock.
See, I'm all wrong with rock. Hard rock, heavy metal, the whole thing, like your shirt. I'm like, yes, like that's me.
Yeah, and, like, I mean, my love is R&B, but I love all music. I
Yeah,
love
me too.
rock, but heavy metal's a little rough for me.
And this is Ron Sacrow. Excuse me if I butchered that. In Pittsburgh, PA. That's for you. Yeah, no, I mean, it was absolutely amazing. I'll never forget those moments. I probably have pictures of you on my photo bucket. That's how far we're going back, guys.
Photo bucket?
I have a photo
Oh.
bucket, and I have pictures of you and all those
how
wrestlers
about
back in the day.
MySpace?
Well, the MySpace is deleted, guys. That was a long time ago, all right? Once MySpace was obsolete, I was like, okay, we're not going to do that.
Does MySpace have an app? Does it still have an app? or
MySpace
not?
is still a thing.
Really?
It's
So
still
people-
a thing.
People still use it? Wow.
It is still a thing. It really is.
Timberlake
Justin
Oh,
Timberlake, did he
bought
really?
it? Oh, for
Justin
how much?
Timberlake bought MySpace, guys. I
And
would
you don't know how
that.
much?
He bought it.
Or if he has some secrets to keep.
Yeah.
This one is for Monica Anderson in Milwaukee. For you? Yeah, it's absolutely insane, guys. It's so funny to look back on those certain things. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, and that's a quick question that I have, because I definitely want to know this. How does it feel, and this goes for both of you, 100%. You know, I've watched you as well growing up and whatnot. My question is, having people who are actually in the business, such as myself, and I'm sure countless others, how does it feel to kind of know that you paved the way for people? And you know, there's people who tape study you, both of you. You know, there are people who look up to you and who watched you as a kid. You know, like, how does that feel, kind of being able to be like, okay, like, I paved the way for this person? I mean, maybe it might be people you don't even know, but to actually have that, like, is it something that resonates with you? And I'm sure it does, especially with you and your movement and whatnot. I'm always curious to ask those questions to, you know, guys who have paved the way for me and women. You know, how does that feel, kind of like carrying that torch and whatnot?
Well, I mean, for me, when it comes to the wrestling, I've got a steal line from Tom Hanks. You're dope if you don't steal from the greats.
Yeah.
So for me, just as much as people look up to me for inspiration, I still study to this day guys like my friend Randy Orton. You know, he's always he's got love for me on social media. I study his work. I study the Great Muda's work, just for the in-between stuff, you know?
Of course.
So just as much as people look up to me for inspiration as to what I do in the ring, those are some of my favorites that I like to study and kind of steal from and make my own.
Yeah.
Because I'm not stealing to be like them. I steal the intent to do what they do. So, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. What about you?
And for me, if you got to pick up something from everybody you work.
Yeah.
Everybody I've worked, I've learned something from, and I try to take away something from everybody I work, and that makes you a better performer. The minute you stop recognizing your own faults and what you do in the ring is the minute you should just quit the business, because no one's perfect. No one. And the minute they say they are the best ever, that's usually the minute you probably should just leave and get out. That's a gimmick. That's a gimmick. That's you to the camera, playing to the camera. I'm talking as the person that wants to learn and become the wrestler that they want to be. You never stop learning from everybody you work. You can pick up something. There could be somebody that's in the business 6 months, and you're working with them, and you see maybe one little thing that guy did. You're like, oh man, I never thought about that. Like, I'm sure you feel the same way.
Yeah, I mean, right now, as we speak, like, I'm doing the adjustment with New Japan, the style, trying to adapt to it well. So that transition, even 19 years of wrestling, like, it's still, I go to the LA dojo a couple times, you know, so it's tough, man. It is tough.
Yeah, no, for sure. And you guys definitely have paved the way for many, many people, including myself, and I'm extremely grateful for it. So thank both of you very, very much for that. It really means a lot. So I'm going to not grace the 80s wrestling family with my presence and walk away and hand it back over to Ryan Marr.
How
But
do I
thank you
follow
both.
that?
Yeah, right. But thank you both very much.
Oh, thank you.
I kept your seat warm.
Oh,
That's
thank
all
you.
I did with it.
Oh, okay.
Uh-oh, you
Do
gotta
you want to take
Thank
the phone
you.
with you?
Uh-oh, you gotta keep it
Oh, yeah,
PG.
There you go. Yeah, she does. Well,
Keep it PG with me.
oh boy, 80swrestlingcon.com. Get those orders in. Thank you, Vicky, for taking over there for a little bit. Now, from Scotland, we have Alan O'Malley, as well as Sam Tello in New York. Get those orders in. We're going to be here with these gentlemen for another hour, and then we're going to be getting to the live auction in a little while as well. We got some authentic ring-worn stuff, and right now for wrestling memorabilia, collectors, now is the time to shine. Wrestling memorabilia is huge, and it's everywhere. That was actually a question that I meant to get to before I stepped away, and I don't recall who asked it, but was there any stuff that you guys collected as fans growing up, or is there any stuff that you collect now? Any type of memorabilia? That could even, I guess, include not just wrestling stuff, but maybe touristy stuff from being on the road. Anything you guys are passionate about that in your travels you've picked up?
Well, me, like, I would always pick up magnets from different cities to put on my refrigerator. But collecting stuff as a kid, maybe like action figures
Yeah,
and
same
stuff.
here.
But I would like paint over them with white out. And
I'd
stuff.
play with them, yeah.
Yeah.
Magic marker for blood,
yeah.
little blade jobs.
Yeah. No, but that was about it.
I had Norwegian trolls.
Wow.
So whenever I would go, I think it started when I went to Epcot and went to Norway, and then when I went to Norway, And then when I went to Sweden, I would always pick out these little tiny, like, signature little trolls. They're like this big, and I got a collection of like 15 of them up on a shelf. Like that was always cool. I collect old Viking amulets.
That's great.
And goblets, and different kind of little like souvenirs. One was like a Thor's hammer pendulum that they found in Russia. Just different little cool little like artifact kind of stuff, which I just find cool.
Were you a fan of the Hellstorm ride in Epcot?
Huh? I was, and
Yeah.
when I went on the Frozen one, I was really sad, especially considering me and my son waited maybe an hour and a half to go on that because it was the long line. Well, you were like, I think it was like maybe like a year old.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then I collect like little stickers like for concerts and stuff.
Oh, okay.
So like whenever I go to a show, and if I got access backstage or something,
Oh, I collect those. Yeah,
you gotta keep those. I put them up on like the thing. So I remember that show. I remember that show. I remember this show.
I've kept some of those to the backstage passes. My problem is organization has never been my strong suit, so it's like sometimes
Organization, no?
No, it never has, and it's so funny.
Well,
to
let
me
me come to your place. I'll organize you.
There you go. That's a reality show in itself, right there.
And he's not in it for the money, so
Yeah.
he'll do it for free.
No.
Well, he'll be, so you can organize my closet. I need a personal trainer. Are you sure you're ready to sign up for this shit? Because I need a lot. I need a lot of help.
Of course.
That's what I'm trying to.
Like this here, look, I don't like it like this. It's got to be like this for me.
I got to talk to our catering manager, Ian Levy. He handles the pens.
That's how I am. That's how I'm going to be at your place.
But next we got Todd Mackwell from Pennsylvania, right there. Carlos Caballero is asking for both of you favorite memories of Shad Gaspard.
Oh man, it's still his passing still haunts me, man. Just being such a hero.
Well, that's not good. Speaking of pens, there you go.
Being such a hero, saving his son. I always say about Shad when I was an extra. At the time, like I had an afro, and they would always call me Ron Simmons' son because of him. Like, so I was an extra back in 2006, just nervous backstage. He'd always like say, "Hey man, come into the locker room." And this was a time when extras couldn't go into the male talent, and he would bring me in there and be like, "Hey Ron, I found your son."
Oh, that's great.
Because of Shad, everyone got to know me as an extra, and that's how my face got familiar with everyone, and that's ultimately how I got signed eventually. Shad was an amazing person.
I can only imagine what it must be like as far as anxiety level as an extra, especially unsigned. I guess it's one thing if you're signed and then it's like whatever because now you're already. But to be like, oh wow, like this little thing here. Like something I could say or do or whatever, I could look at someone wrong, it could screw everything up. I would be so anxious. Did you ever do any extra work prior to being signed?
I did one, but my first time meeting Shad was I had my tryout. I think it was the end of 2010, and I remember doing the promo, being done, getting back in the back, and then Shad was there. And he was one of the few that just walked up to me without me asking any advice, and just like, dude, like I like this, I like that, like wow, you're gonna do good, and then like that's just something that sticks out to me. He tells me the kind of person somebody is right away, just by me not asking for nothing, him not expecting anything, just being genuine, and me as a father.
I can't
the whole thing just makes me emotional because it's the last 2 years have been really hard for a lot of people.
Yes.
Well, the one silver lining, I guess, is that usually when you hear about these tragedies, at least in the past from wrestling, it was always under precarious circumstances. At least this was for as tragic as it was him doing what a father does. So. Thank you for sharing those stories.
Yes.
Next, we have Mandy Yonder in the United Kingdom, and we have Marcus King from Boonville, Mississippi. 80swrestlingcon.com. Get those signings in. Get those orders in for the signing. We're having a great time tonight with Mr. Fred Rosser, a.k.a. Darren Young, and, of course, Erick Redbeard, formerly known as Erick Rowan. 80swrestlingcon.com for all upcoming signings. Back next week with Nikita Koloff. Stick around. We're going to be here till about 10 o'clock. We have that live auction coming up with some authentic ring-worn gear for both of these gentlemen. So that'll be in just a few minutes. We're having a great time reminiscing. This is definitely one of the signings you're going to want to check out in the coming days at 80swrestlingcon.com. Whether you're a fan, whether you're someone who's aspiring to be in the pro wrestling business, check this out. Give these gentlemen follows on their respective social medias. Next up, we have Ryan Mitchell, or Mictech, whatever, in Kentucky. Ryan Mictech in Kentucky. Sorry, Ryan. Trying to read that handwriting. And then we got Sam Tello. Nice, simple, to the point. Sam Tello in, oh, I just mixed that up. Sam Tello, you'll be next. Mike Campbell in Hoboken, New Jersey. Not too far from here. Kyle James, you guys did great tonight. Hey, thank you for checking in, Kyle. I know you're a loyal fan. You're here often. 80swrestlingcon.com.
I'll just use gold.
Thorsten Fritz wants to know, for Fred, how was the relationship to your NXT mentor, CM Punk, back then?
We didn't say 2 words to one another.
Really?
Hold on.
No, that sounds like there's a good story coming.
I think
news to me.
Yeah.
That had to make you feel good.
I think when he found out, probably when he was going to be my coach, it's like another extra day on the road, I think. And I think he was at a time when he might have been a little hurt or banged up. I'm not sure. But we didn't say 2 words to one another. But when I came out publicly, SummerSlam 2013, he was one of the first guys to be like, after his match with Brock Lesnar, he came to me in catering at the Staples Center in front of everyone. He was all iced up from head to toe, and I'm just watching the monitor, just watching the show, and he came up to me and said, "Hey man, stand up." And I stood up, and he gave me a hug, and he was like, "Man, I'm proud of you. I heard what you did. If you have any problems with anyone in the locker room, you let me know." So I mean,
That's cool.
That was major. That was major. But yeah, the first season of NXT when he was my coach, we didn't say much to one another. And again, I wasn't comfortable with myself. So I was on mute 90% of the time, you know, because I didn't want to ruffle any feathers. But if I were to debut now, yeah, I don't care. I'm going to say what I want.
Now, you had that mindset, we were talking earlier about people posting stuff on social media, and I don't have the exact quote, but it was something to the effect of, if I don't know them personally, I don't let it bother me.
Yeah, if they don't know you personally, don't take it personal.
Okay,
you know?
so now were you able to have that mindset as a professional wrestler in the WWE very early on, before you came out, before you had that confidence? So did you take it personal when you weren't talking with him? Did you think, because now you're saying, oh, well, he had the extra day on the road, it could have been he was hurt at the time. Did you have that mindset then, or were you thinking, oh my God, is there something that I did to piss this guy off?
Yeah, well, just like both. Like,
Yeah.
you know, again, I'm just fearful. I don't want to piss him off. He's probably agitated. Yeah, it's just the way it was then.
Yeah. No, well, that's great that he more than made up for it by coming to you and showing you support.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of years later, I couldn't believe it. And it's a story I share all the time.
That's awesome.
About people that supported me.
That's great. Next up, we have Paul Trebona in Maine. Paul Trebona, and also Paul Trebona in Maine. There you go. Kyle James, all three, thank you. Ryan, great job like always hosting. Thank you, Kyle. I always say that everybody needs to pull their weight to make these great. We have 2 great guests tonight. You guys are coming in with the great questions and great comments. So thank you guys as well. 80swrestlingcon.com. We're going to have so many great guests coming up over the next few months. So make sure you stick around. Don't forget, if you spend $125 tonight or on any future signings, we're going to throw in that complimentary 80s Wrestling Con t-shirt. Next up, we got Mandy Yonder in the UK. Mandy Yonder. Carlos Caballero, thank you, Tommy Fierro, for another top-notch quality virtual experience at 80s Wrestling. Thank you, Carlos. Right now, I have a special. This is actually somebody who lives near me in New Jersey who's a big fan, and he came through last minute. He's got the Primetime Players t-shirt he'd like you
Are those worn?
I believe this was worn.
What, did we throw it in the crowd or something?
That I didn't ask him. But the
Or did
Primetime
you-
Players shirt,
okay.
this is for my buddy Chris. He goes by Beef Wellington. Chris Beef Wellington. So if you would sign that for him, and then I'll drop it back off at his job tomorrow. He came to me last minute. He was like, "Hey, goes, "Can I get an order in now and you can come pick it up?" I said, "No problem, man. It was right by my house." And while he's doing that, we got Mike Campbell in Hoboken, New Jersey for Mr. Erick Rowan.
Oh, and you want to put his name?
He didn't say, so I'd probably just go with the signature.
Signature, okay.
Yeah. Thank you so much. You can just put it over there and I'll grab it later.
This is a great evening because tomorrow I'll be going on a helicopter ride with my mom. My mom's taking me. She's treating me, so yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's a great day.
I'm so glad you brought up your mom again, because I was just going to bring your mom up when I saw this. This is from Bubba Call. He's an 80s Wrestling Con super fan. This is the Darren Young action figure. I don't know if this is the first one, but this is it.
Oh, no, that's, no.
Okay. Well, did Mom go out and buy like 500 of the first ones when they came out? The action figures? How excited were you?
What do you mean you did?
I bought a bunch.
She's selling them behind your back. Mom's making a good profit on the side.
Yeah, but that was like the second one, like yeah, like one of the second ones, I think.
So when he's like home, when he's home sleeping tonight in bed, do you put the Sharpie in his hand while he's sleeping and have him sign it?
Oh yeah, no, she's done that before. She's done that before when I came home.
So this is for John Bubba Cole.
Yeah.
He was just signature, no days off. Yeah, because I could just imagine. I mean, like, you know, moms are always so proud of what their kids are doing. So I mean, to have an action figure, that's got to be like, oh wow.
Well, I mean, when I first started wrestling, what did you say to me, Mom?
I don't know. I said a lot.
All right. You said I had 6 months to make it, and it took me a long time.
Yeah. Because he was still in college.
There you go.
She's tired. She's tired. She's tired. I gave her media training, so like I train her like, Mom, when we do stuff like, and I drill you, you better come.
Well,
you better
I mean,
come with
she's
it.
tired because you have her on the payroll. She's
Yeah.
taking pictures. She's doing all this stuff. I mean, you know. And here we have a, I keep calling them action cards. I don't know why I keep doing it. Because I always get the trading card after the action figure. But here we have Erick Rowan WWE trading card. This is also for John Bubba Call. He wants silver, just signature on that. 80swrestlingcon.com. The store is still open. Get those orders in before we do our live auction, which is probably going to end the evening tonight. But we have so many great signings coming up. Remy Casillas, this is for both of you. What are your greatest concert experiences either one of you have ever had?
Concert?
Yeah, concerts. Like any favorite concerts that stand out of musicians that you've seen?
Oh, well, I'm a big fan of like independent up-and-coming artists. So that one act called Bands in Town. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. Well, living out in LA, there's a lot of R&B type gigs that I can check out, and I'm a big fan of this one guy called Daly, D-A-L-E-Y.
Okay.
And I've seen him several times. My mom has stolen several selfies with me. She stole about it before the pandemic selfie with me and Jay Leno. She pushed me out the way.
He's a great guy too.
Yeah, and he was very nice, but she literally pushed me out the way to get a selfie with me.
Big Leno fan? There you go. That's awesome to hear. Al, and for you, because I mean, you're a big metal guy, got the Slayer shirt on, and then you mentioned a bunch of bands that I'm sorry.
How can I even pick? I went to El Paso, Texas, and saw Slayer on the last leg of their tour with them on a marathon, so it was like win-win for me. In Boston, a couple of years ago, I went and saw Solstifer with Paradise Lost, and that was awesome because it was a small little setting in a club. There's like so many concerts I want to say, but probably within the top would probably be Winter Sun playing their 10th anniversary of their debut album in Helsinki, Finland.
I gotta ask
where they're from.
Do you get in the pit? Do you get in the pit at these shows?
Oh yeah, I went to an Antiferum show in Minneapolis, and I was in the pit.
When they
and
see
I was
you
laughing.
coming down-
I was laughing. Everybody's bumping into you, and it's fun, man.
But when they see you coming, like if I'm in a mosh pit, okay, and not that I'm a big mosher, but if I'm in a pit and I see this guy coming at me, I don't even need to know that he's Erick Rowan. I just need to see the tattoos, the beard. I'm like, yeah, you know what? I'm out of here. You know, I'll turn it to Carlton from the Fresh Prince real quick. Let me go to Tom Jones.
I'll get in the pit if I'm feeling it, but for the most part, I've retired from Pit Fund.
Yeah.
I'm up usually having some beverages.
Well, yeah, especially now that you're, a wrestling superstar. It'll be like, oh, I just got my ass kicked by Erick Rowan at a Sepultura show or whatever.
I know there was always stories. There was a big festival in Minneapolis or Wisconsin. It's called Edge Fest.
Okay.
They used to have 93.7. The Edge was a radio station before it became 93X. And Brock Lesnar, obviously, went to the U of M. Mm-hmm. So there's always these stories of Brock Lesnar coming to the pit. I don't know if they're true. I never got a chance to ask him because I always forget about it.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, next time I see him, I have to ask him about these stories of him in the pit were true.
I can imagine, yeah, just tossing people around, one-armed. But yeah, that's some funny stuff.
Do you bring your kids?
Jason Rumble in Vermont. Jason Rumble.
Oh, if I brought my kids to any concerts. Funny story was my kids' first concert was Weird Al Yankovic.
Okay.
It was before Mania 32. They were going to fly us all home, or straight to New Orleans, and I said, no, I got to go see Weird Al with my kid.
That's great.
So we went and saw Weird Al, and my son got to meet him. And he was there. There was a comedian, Emo Phillips.
Okay. Oh, Emo's great.
And he gave my kid so much time at the end.
Yeah.
He's like, come into this dark room where if you hit the flash, it'll make your face.
Oh, Emo's nuts, yeah. Great guy.
Very funny guy. But yeah, Weird Al wished me luck at WrestleMania, acting like he didn't know what WrestleMania was.
Really?
And that's my only impersonation of the day, I think. It's like, we're leaving, and he's like, oh, and good luck at WrestleMania. And me and my kid are like huge UHF fans.
Yeah.
So that probably one of the funniest films I've ever seen. It's got Weird Al in it. But yeah, just a great guy.
That's so funny that he pretends.
Fast forward, my kid's second concert was Judas Priest.
Oh wow!
A little bit of a it's different end of the spectrum.
Judas Priest and Deep Purple.
Oh, how long ago? Judas Priest.
Oh, not long ago at all.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Jason Rumble in Vermont for Mr. Darren Young.
Remy
Remy Casilla says Brock, not to cut you off, I'm sorry, but Brock Lesnar used to annihilate people at mortician shows. So I don't know if that's first-hand account. And I'm sorry.
Wait, doesn't he sing Jericho song? Judas Priest or no?
No, but Judas Priest is mentioned in the lyrics of that Jericho song, "Break the Walls Down."
And Jericho's covered, I think, a Judas Priest song on his first album.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like
You knew Judas Priest from Breaking the Law.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, who does perform "Break Down the Walls"? I mean, it's over 20 years now.
Didn't Seether do some song for him at Elimination Chamber?
I believe so.
Saliva.
Saliva, and then for a while there, they were bringing in all kinds of different bands.
The Ruthless Aggression CD.
Okay. Well, Edge kept the music from Alter Bridge, Metalingus, which became the Edge theme.
Our Lady of Peace did Chris Benoit's.
Yes.
And I was trying to think what Seven Dust did, but I can't remember. But they were on that album.
Seven Dust.
And let's also not forget Edge and Christian doing Chris Benoit's music on the kazoo, which was very entertaining. I'm sorry, I don't know if I'm allowed to mention that, but no. Anyway, moving along. This has got to be some cool stuff that you guys always get to see. And again, doing these signings, hosting these signings, I always get to see stuff like this. And I don't think is there a bigger form of flattery than having somebody paint something like this for you? This is Jason Schneider. It doesn't say where he's from, but there you go, Jason. He actually painted it himself.
I wish I had a talent to paint.
Yeah,
I wish I could sing. I wish I could paint.
Well, you're working on the singing now and the dancing.
No, I'm talking about sang.
Oh, okay.
S-A-N-G. Sang.
Like just wake up and just belt it out.
Sang like Whitney.
Yeah. Wow. Well, there's only a handful of people.
There's only one. Yep.
Brian Ronald in Trenton, New Jersey. 80swrestlingcon.com. RJ Evans says, did anyone ask about the pet spider yet? Yeah, I think we discussed that a little earlier. Vicky was actually an extra for that. Is that the one that you were the extra for?
Yep.
Yeah, so we talked about that a little bit earlier. Again, any questions that we didn't get to tonight, they might have been answered already. We've covered a lot of ground so far tonight. 80swrestlingcon.com in the next couple of days. You'll be able to watch this as well as all the past signings.
Yeah,
that we have.
I flew without it, and I was like, I had to put like a little hoodie underneath it.
It's the worst. It's the worst.
No wonder I was so miserable this morning.
Follow-up question. I think I might know the answer to this one because I've met him and he was an incredible guy. He said, when Fred was on the NXT Redemption season, did he have a better connection with his coach, Chavo Guerrero?
Yeah, Chavo was really cool with me. This was also at the end of his run with WWE, so I think just being on the road so much, you're just tired. So, but he was always cool with me. I think even cooler, more so now than ever before.
Yeah.
I was just on his podcast recently, and he's making moves, doing stunt work and all that stuff. So yeah, we still stay in contact.
I had met him when he was with TNA, and he was talking about getting into that, and I believe he did the Glow show on Netflix. He trained all those actresses on how to, so.
Yeah, and I think he might have been working on The Rock's new show.
Oh, that's great.
So, yeah.
That's great. And what a great show that is. I mean, finally something, a positive love letter to the wrestling business after all these years. Brian Ronald in Trenton, New Jersey, and Marshall from Pennsylvania. 80swrestlingcon.com. Get those orders in while the store is still open. We're going to be here for about another half hour or so. We also have that live auction coming up. Both these gentlemen have been kind enough to put their personal ring-worn stuff up for grabs. So we're going to get to that in a few minutes. Next up, we have Terry Sanders in Montville, New Jersey. Oh, okay. That's next?
Yeah.
All right, the WWE Encyclopedia from Carter Cole in Richmond, Virginia. This is another big thing. I'm actually going to buy myself one because
Encyclopedia?
Yeah.
I never knew these were a thing
color?
until I started doing these signings.
Yeah, your choice.
Don't forget to still share this link out. If you're watching on WrestleZone.com, welcome. But if you're watching on Facebook, please share this link. Once again, 80s wrestling. A lot of wrestling fans, not of the 80s era, that know who these gentlemen are. They may want to stake their claim at coming home with one of the auction prizes that these guys are going to be giving away later on. So share those links to your Facebook feeds.
You know, like traveling throughout the airports and stuff like that. I'm like one. I always pride myself on being one of the nice wrestlers. So 4 a.m., 5 a.m. fans come with the books like marked like that. I always sign it. It takes 2 seconds to sign it and get it out the way. But I know some wrestlers can be a little unpleasant to the fans.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sitting right here.
No, I didn't say you at all,
Sometimes I'm in a hurry to get my flight because I'm not always there really early.
Like me, yeah.
Like you. So sometimes I'm trying to rush and get through security, and sometimes I'll stop, and when I do sign, the person behind them who has no idea who I am was like, hey, can I get a picture with you?
Yeah.
Who is that?
Yep, you're right. I hate that.
And it's just a lot of time.
Yeah.
But I have no problems with it. I just feel like he's calling me out. Does it feel like he's calling me out, fellow bearded, bald-headed brother?
But here's what I...
No, I'm not calling you out.
Well, no, but you're very physically intimidating. I would imagine, especially like again, the physical size aspect, the beard, the tattoos. I would think people would think twice at 4 a.m. to maybe bother you.
No, but usually I have my headphones blaring.
Okay.
And usually when you say something to me and I kind of hear you and I look,
Yeah.
My grandmother always told a great story. She got a plane ticket autographed by Hulk Hogan and Macho Man Randy Savage for me, and they were meeting us out in Florida on a vacation. And my grandmother, you know, she was a big 6-foot, you know, Irish-Italian lady from North Jersey. She didn't play. And she said to me when you're out there, she goes, Macho Man, sweetheart, Hulk Hogan, jerk off. And I was like, whoa, yeah. And it was interesting because they were sitting together. And she just said, she goes, you know, because my cousin was there, who was a baby at the time, and she said Savage picked him up. It was like, ooh, he'll be kicking my ass in a few years. And she said, you know, Hogan can be bothered. And I, as a young kid, I even said, well, you know, maybe he was tired or whatever. So I don't know if he was calling you out. I don't know if you had that demeanor with the fans, but I know that I would think twice before approaching you at 4 o'clock in the morning, especially if you look tired and you just got off a flight. I don't know. Everyone's different.
all I can say is if you ever had a bad experience with me, it's because I was having a bad day, and I'm truly sorry.
But let me say, I get so tickled, and I've shared this story before, like traveling with Mark Henry. Everyone looks at Mark Henry, and one of his pet peeves is like, don't touch him, you know, don't pet him. You know, because like he feels like he's being pet. So when I see a fan like surround him like a pterodactyl, I like pull out my phone because I want to record it. But I never record it, and I see the fan finally come up to him. Oh, so nice to meet you. He's like, get your damn hands off me. I ain't no damn pet. And I just start cracking up laughing.
I saw him at a bar after a show in Philly, and he was wearing a towel over his head. And he was like sweating or whatever, and I was assuming he had just taken a shower and gone to the bar. But like just the aura he was giving off, and I've heard nothing but wonderful things. I was like, I wouldn't go up to that guy.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm always amazed at these people who do. And Encyclopedia, though, at least you know it's a real fan. I get really annoyed when I see the clips when someone will say, oh, that wrestler is being a jerk, but it's a guy with 12 8x10s that's going to sell them. That's different. I think that would piss me off, too.
But as a kid, younger, I was guilty of when the wrestlers were in town, if they were at a certain gym that they went to, I would go there and, like, see what they're doing.
Oh, you were one of those.
Yeah, so I'm not afraid to admit that. The gyms,
No, that's why you wound up making it to the WWE. You were hungry to find out.
Yeah.
And get that information.
Exactly.
Look where it landed you. Terry Sanders in Montville, New Jersey. Do we know how we want to work out this live auction yet? Do we have any ideas? Because it is 9:30. I don't know.
I'm gonna follow Big Man to see what he does.
Are we doing everything together? Are we doing them separately? I just want to have an idea.
I'm doing mine separately, and I have prices in my mind now.
You do have prices in your mind now. All right, because we have a couple more of these photos. We're also still taking orders at 80swrestlingcon.com. Don't forget, if you spend $125, not counting the auction, because that's separate, that's with these gentlemen, but if you spend $125 on any of the signings tonight or in the future, we're going to throw in a free 80s Wrestling Con t-shirt. This is for Rhonda Bracker in Albany, New York. Yes. All right, shout out to Robert Williams, another WWE encyclopedia right there. Remy Casillas. Now again, I'm just reading what's written here. So there was a match where a worker did a high-pitched scream before being slammed to the mat, and Rowan had to scream also to keep face. Comments?
I didn't scream. That was all him.
Okay, so enlighten me, because I'm not...
There was a... It's funny to me because I remember I heard a high-pitched scream after we would do the finish with the Bludgeon Brothers, which probably really sucked for guys. But this one was I'd grab a guy in a full mouse and slam, pick him up, and then Ruud would give him, the seated power assisted slam. And this one guy got all the way up and made the highest pitched scream he could ever hear. We get to the back and I look over at Brody and I'm like, that was great, but why'd you scream? Because I thought he screamed like really high pitched, and it was very out of place at the time. He starts laughing. He's like, "Oh, that was the guy."
Oh, that's great.
Well, I think at first he was like, "No, I thought that was you."
That's funny.
And then the other guy walked in and he was like, "No, it was me."
Oh, that's great.
But it was funny.
Yeah, well, it struck a chord. Remy Casillas remembered it. Tawny Estrella, question for both gentlemen. What's your favorite road food? Now that's something, especially looking at you guys, you're both in great shape.
I do not like In-N-Out.
Well, but how do you guys keep in shape with, Ron Simmons would say I'd go to IHOP, and I'd order 3 steaks or whatever. Like, what do you do to keep in shape? What kind of food are you eating?
I do not like Waffle House either.
Waffle House.
No, because...
Chicken and eggs.
No.
Get the tomato side.
No, it's dirty to me.
Dirty to you.
Dirty.
What do you do?
Just like everything in there is like dirty.
It doesn't matter at 2, 3 in the morning.
Yeah, I know, but still.
Marshall from Pennsylvania. Marshall.
You gotta wear gloves when you're making my food. I'm sorry.
Ah, okay.
I'm sorry, I can't help it.
Shout out to Dana Smith for his
I'm a little diva.
I've just always been fascinated that these guys can keep such incredible bodies, and when this pandemic started, I'm down 45 pounds with intermittent fasting, and I always use the excuse of, I'm a stand-up comic on the road, that's why I eat like shit, and then I was locked down for months, and I'm like, oh no, I've gained 20 pounds, so it's not from being on the road, it's lifestyle choices. So I'm always amazed at you guys being able to be in these situations late at night and make healthy choices nutrition-wise. So
I didn't always. I used to love to go to Wendy's, get that triple
Oh,
cheeseburger
that triple's the
with
shit.
the fries
Yeah.
and the frosty. This is when I was riding the Sandow. He would always make fun of me. Always. And then eventually I was like, you know what, you're right. Like, I'm gonna start eating better.
Yeah. That triple cheese is awesome.
I covered up with the coverall, so it didn't really matter at the time. But yeah.
Yeah, but even for your cardio, did you notice a difference when you started to eat a little
Oh,
healthier?
definitely.
Yeah,
Definitely.
without a doubt.
What was I going to say?
I don't want to hear it because I'm sure it's just going to be about how I'm a piece of garbage. and doesn't eat well.
Negative. No, I'm not a negative Nancy.
No, I know you're not.
For example, like Ryback, I just thought, like, when it came to road food, like
He's a fan of
Ryback-
somebody here.
Like Ryback would always like be like with the double stacks. I eat like 10 double stacks with no bun, just the patties, just like and
You know what I did the other night, and I was so pissed off because if I go to Wendy's for the triple, they'll give me the lettuce wrap. I went to McDonald's. I said, let me get a double quarter pounder with cheese. Let me get a lettuce wrap. The kid goes, no problem. They gave me shredded lettuce, the quarter pounder, and a fork and a knife. And I had to sit like this in my car with a plastic fork and knife and eat my double quarter pounder. Do you believe that shit? I'm like, how the hell? When I used to be really fat and out of shape, I'd be like, hey, healthy people, leave my McDonald's alone. But now, I'm like, you know what? I want to start a movement. This is bullshit. How do you not have a lettuce wrap at McDonald's? I'm sorry.
I ruined many of his shirts when I switched. When that was like because that was my little cut phase, was like, let's travel with eating. I could actually have the bread. Then it was like, cut all breads. I need to eat carbs like bad. And then I'm like, I'm having these wraps, and then it just drips all over.
Yeah.
And then I fast forward to, you know what? I didn't even need to eat any of that food. It's better just to have a shake and some oats or something.
No, absolutely.
And it's a lot cheaper.
yeah.
Wawa comes in good in a pinch, if you're like in the Northeast area. The quesadillas.
They don't really have the healthiest food. Were you a Chipotle guy?
Oh no, too much sodium.
Are they getting better?
I haven't tried it. Too much sodium for me.
Too much sodium for
Too
you.
much sodium.
See, I don't even know what sodium is really, so that's how I know I still have a long way to go.
I mean, but for a while when I'm on the road, probably you too, I was on the meal prep kick. So I was like having the portable refrigerator and like bringing my food on the road. So
That had to be a pain in the ass to carry around.
No, it wasn't that bad.
no.
Really? That's good.
That was actually towards the end. That was the kick.
Yeah.
It
I'm
was
just
so,
making
it was so
excuses to
easy.
not have to eat,
The
right?
guys that have microwaves at the live events,
Yeah.
you just go pop in the microwave, have your meal.
Oh, that's cool.
You pack like your first like 8 meals.
Yeah.
You have like your little bag that you check with all your food, and then by the time you get to TV, you don't need to buy any meals.
And NXT, I'm sure, because you guys were always in Florida for NXT, so you could probably just travel. Right? You were living in Orlando.
Yes.
Florida Championship
Tampa.
was- oh, Tampa,
Yeah.
okay.
So.
Oh, thank you.
Well, I had just started, so I was just eating tuna. The money wasn't,
Yeah.
that good.
Again, that's a lot of stuff that they don't hear about that stuff. They just hear about the glamour.
Low sodium.
No, so yeah.
Rhonda Bracker in Albany, New York. I'd like to thank our AV/catering manager, Ian Levy, for plugging me in. He does a little bit of everything. When Mike slacks, Ian becomes the AV guy, too, so it all works. Mike's over there going, no, I'm listening on my headphones, making sure that the levels are good. 80swrestlingcon.com. We're having a great time with these two guys tonight. We're going to be bringing in more stuff. I'm going to step up. Oh, wow, look at this. Here we have the Bludgeon Brothers. I'm going to step out of the way so this can be signed. This is for Fabio from Italy. Fabio, I can't believe it's not butter.
Tommy, was this just a signature on this one?
Yeah.
What color?
Let's go actually.
That's a great photo. Great photo.
Was that a yawn or something?
No, it was a stretch.
Okay.
You know, all this talking about eating healthy is making me feel like I worked out, even though we're just talking about health.
There's a Wendy's on the other
Yeah.
side of the highway.
Yeah, that's how you know you're really in bad shape. We're just talking about eating healthy gets you hungry.
And I do the intermittent fasting, so
That's
I
what
don't.
I've been doing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What time do you start eating?
Well, see, here's the thing. My window's different every day. I just
Yeah.
make sure that it's 16 hours. So, like,
16.
but again, of course, today I had pizza. But,
Yeah.
I mean, I won't eat. That was at 6 p.m., so I won't eat until, like, noon tomorrow, you know. But I'm down 45 pounds. I'm having I hit a plateau the last month. I want to do, like, another 15. But,
Good.
yeah, no, it's a lot easier because, again, after, like, a week of it, a week and a half, you go to bed at night going, I'm so hungry, I can't wait to eat this, this, and this. And then you have a normal portion. You're like, holy shit, I'm full. So you notice the changes really quick. It really is 90% mental. It really is. He also probably has fitness tips on his podcast as well, so check that out.
Yeah, absolutely. Health is wealth, baby.
There you go. And now we have a WWF flag. Talk about old
That's
school.
definitely probably worth millions of dollars, right?
Millions and millions.
But, this is Carter Cole, and he'd like both of you gentlemen to sign this.
We've been having so much fun with these two. Don't forget, we got
Silver.
Nikita Koloff coming up next Monday. 80swrestlingcon.com. Get those orders in. Dan Lehman says, perspective. Rowan is a beast. There you go.
Yeah, gotta stand next to Ken.
There you go.
Tony Estrella, we asked about the road food. We found out the Wendy's triple, which I may have to get on the way home. Actually, I rode up with Vicky's riding shotgun, and she's all into eating healthy, so maybe that'll convince me to not stop at Wendy's on the way home. Travis Babcock, I've met Chavo, and he really is such a great guy. Couldn't have been nicer. Yep. Joey Cole, yes, thank you guys. Another great night. It's not over yet. We still got a little bit ways to go, about another 20 minutes. I think now.
We have Robert Williams' chair.
Oh,
Now to sign.
Well, I got that behind me.
I'm just holding it. I'm not
about
swinging
to turn
it.
heel on you.
It's all good.
No, nothing's going to hurt you, big man.
So I'd say here would be good.
Okay.
Jerry.
Awesome. There we go. Thank you, gentlemen.
That's my one signature every day. You know, he said he went and got pictures with the guys.
Yeah.
I was in college. I told Jerry this story, but yeah, like we went because he was WWF Cruiserweight champion, and he was wrestling one of the guys down there at some indie show in Minnesota. It was my first like big indie show I went to. And I gave the money for the Polaroid. it went somewhere, but I told him that story. He's like, I'm sorry.
Was that Jerry Lynn you know about?
Yeah.
We just had him a few weeks ago for our ECW reunion. Legends of ECW signing.
Silver.
80swrestlingcon.com. I believe the store is still open for right now, but I think we're going to... How much more stuff do we have as far as memorabilia?
No,
We're done with that? Okay, because it is 9:40, and I just want to figure out what we're going to do with that stuff. I don't want to say the wrong thing.
They have it.
Oh, you have it?
Yeah, they have it. It's over there now.
Oh, great. Okay, so do you want to lay out the ground rules for this auction? Who wants to go first? How do we want to do
Big
this?
man. Because he's got experience.
All right,
All right.
so let's do this.
So how long do you typically do these auctions?
So usually what we would do is 3 minutes for every item. I don't know, and we would start with the lowest denomination. So like, let's say we were starting something off.
That's what we're doing right now, then.
Okay, so we're gonna start with one of the t-shirts.
Yes.
Okay.
So, this right here, first item for auction, it's a ring-worn Wardruna t-shirt, metal shirt. You saw me wear it on a Monday Night Raw, probably when I was carrying the cage. If you look up Wardruna Rowan, you'll find a picture online of me wearing it, probably slamming somebody. I think I actually wore this, if you type in Seth Rollins Snowfall Count, this is when I got pinned by a forklift. Yes, I got pinned by a forklift. Totally 80s style. So what better place to put this up for auction than here right now? This is a steal at $150.
All right, so we're gonna start at 150, and then we're gonna do increments of 5, 10. How do you want to do that?
I mean, what do you typically do?
We usually do $5.
Let's do that.
All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to start the clock right now, 3 minutes. Now, again, guys, bear with us. There is sometimes a delay, but we're just going by this. If you want this ring-worn t-shirt, this is a one-of-a-kind thing. No one else in the world, no other wrestling fan will have this piece of memorabilia. So if you want it, starting bid is $150, but go higher if you want to be guaranteed. Let's not play that $5 game, $10 game. Come in with what you think is a fair shot at you winning this. We have another ring-worn shirt that's going to be going up after this, as well as something else really cool, and then we're going to move on to Mr. Darren Young. But right now, we're on the clock, 3 minutes. We're looking for an opening bid of $150. And then after that, we're going to go in $5 denominations. You can Google this and find this shirt being worn by Mr. Rowan himself.
As I was Pinned by a forklift.
As he was pinned by a forklift. So, Kyle James says, I'd rather watch this than watch Monday Night Raw. Hey, that's what a lot of people say. So
What's going on tonight?
well, he apparently AJ Styles getting wasted on TV. I don't know if that's a storyline, because I don't think AJ Styles was legitimately getting wasted on TV. We're not watching, Kyle, so we can't tell you. We can't comment on it. We're looking for that opening bid, $150. And if this does not go tonight, this isn't an 80s wrestling auction. This is from these guys privately. So if you do not bid tonight, your only chance of getting this is contacting these guys on social media and finding out how you can get it. So I think you really should take advantage of this opportunity. This is authentic ring-worn gear from both of these gentlemen. And we're looking for $150 opening bid.
And if you don't bid on it, no problem. I will wear this home. I wear this in the gym. I will continue to put my blood, sweat, and tears into this.
It'll up the value.
Great outfit.
It'll just up the value. So we're looking for a $150 opening bid. Got about another minute before we move on. The next item is also a ring-worn shirt. 80swrestlingcon.com for all upcoming signings. Don't forget about Virtual Mania on Sunday, August 22nd. But next week, we are back with Nikita Koloff. If you spend $125 or more, separate from this auction, you will get that complimentary 80s Wrestling Con t-shirt. A whole bunch just came in stock. Emil Menard, before he places the bid, says, how do we pay? How do we pay?
Venmo's preferred, but I will accept PayPal.
All right, Venmo is preferred, but accept PayPal. Emil, is that a bid? Is how do we pay a bid? That's what we need to know.
Same with me too when the time comes.
All right, so Venmo and PayPal.
Yeah,
We'll figure that out. Kyle James, how do you pay Venmo and PayPal? You got about 20 seconds.
Well, there's a delay, man. Calm down.
No, I know, but we got a lot of items to get to. Let's see
If we
what
give them a chance to answer.
through 80s Wrestling or Rowan. Kyle, place a bid. We'll get you the information after you place the bid. It's going to be through Rowan. It's not through 80s Wrestling. I'll give it another 30 seconds. We need an opening bid of $150. Looks like whoever places it's probably going to win it because we still have another shirt to get to. And also, if we run out of time, you could contact Mr. Rowan directly and make him an offer. I'm waiting for somebody to bid, guys. I'll throw in another 10 seconds before we move on. All right, I guess you're going to have to contact Mr. Rowan directly for that. This next shirt is also ring-worn, I believe.
Yep.
Now this was this something specific that you remember? You said that
This one I wore during the cage gimmick.
during the cage
On
gimmick.
Monday Night Raw.
This was also ring-worn on Monday Night Raw, so we're going to start it off 150 as well?
Yep, and this was the band Carcass.
The band Carcass.
It has front and back if you want to show.
Band Carcass, they sound like
If
nice
you do
Christian fellas.
if you do collect metal shirts, you will appreciate the artwork on these.
Carcass, there you go. Yeah, I used to go see them after church on Sunday, Carcass. Looking for that opening bid of $150. Emil, can you come in at this one? We found out that it's going to be through Erick Rowan directly. Venmo is preferred, but he will accept PayPal. $150 ring-worn shirt on the clock. If you missed out on that last one, now's a chance to get another piece of history with one of a kind. He will sign it for you as well. Looking for that opening bid of $150. These guys are signing away tonight. Don't forget you can follow The Wrestling Collector on Instagram. Find out how you can get so many great autograph photos from so many top stars from 80s, 90s, today. I sound like a radio DJ. 80s, 90s, and today. Follow The Wrestling Collector on Instagram. You can give me a follow at Ryan Marr Comedy. Follow these gentlemen, all these great projects they have coming up as well. But right now, we're looking for an opening bid of $150 for this ring-worn Carcass t-shirt. Been worn on Monday Night Raw by Erick Rowan. Own a piece of pro wrestling history. Looking for opening bid. at, Emil? Where you at, Kyle James? You asked all these questions. We need to see a bid. Hey, you want to take some of these?
Yeah.
I like how you got it though. Very congruent.
Yeah.
Very organized.
Very.
No, it's fine. Alright. Alright, so here we have from Bubba Call as well a Darren Young Topps trading card right there. Bob Tyrer, Great Falls, Virginia. For Bob with best wishes, Erick Rowan. I'm sorry.
That's okay. It's all good.
80swrestlingcon.com for all upcoming signings. Got about 15 seconds left to get that bid in for the authentic ring-worn carcass t-shirt. And Mio and Kyle, they both talked a big game earlier in the night, and it looks like they froze.
Not metal fans.
Not metal. That could be it too. I think with the other thing that you have though, they'd be really silly
Saving up.
not to place a bid on this. I actually predict, all right, sold to nobody for right now, but they can contact Mr. Rowan. Now, this next item that you have, if these guys don't get a little involved on this, I don't know what to say. Do we have? I'm gonna let you just explain this.
Explain it.
Well,
Okay.
because I mean, they want to hear it from the man himself.
So when I had an injury, I came back from injury. I was on SmackDown with Bray Wyatt. I came out with the new, different sheet mask that had the hoses. It was a different
Very Fallout looking.
Yeah, it was a different version of the Wyatt family, but still the Wyatt family. So I had a jumpsuit made, but because the original green one was so hard to work in, I had a two-piece one made. So this is the bottom half, and this is the top half.
Wow.
And it was the new jumpsuit I wore. Moving forward, I used runic symbols for the top. I have a sheep artwork with the beard, and it says "No More."
That's incredible. There is video of him wrestling in this. There are photos of him wrestling this. This was a monumental return. And what are we asking for the starting bid to own this extremely one-of-a-kind piece of memorabilia?
This one I'm starting at $800.
$800. Start the clock, please, Miss Vicious Vicky. So you can go home with this. Venmo is accepted. It's preferred. PayPal will be accepted as well. Venmo preferred. $800 opening bid. This was the night that Erick Rowan returned to the Wyatt family. You're going to get the top and bottom. If the guy from The Ring Worn on Instagram, one of my favorite Instagram pages, he's got quite a collection. I mean, I could see him displaying this in his house. Right now, you can watch A&E's WWE Hidden Treasures. I mean, they're going out and they're looking for stuff like this. So you can own it for $800 and then have Erick Rowan come to your house in 10 years with a WWE camera crew and pay you 10 grand for it. You don't know. He could say, oh my God, I gave it away for $800 at 80s Wrestling Con. What the hell was I thinking? So we need to see $800 opening bid. Don't forget, we still have some great stuff from Darren Young coming up in just a little bit. But can we get an $800 bid? Is the belt for sale? No, it is not, right?
That's a $5,000 belt.
$5,000 belt, Joe.
So you'd have to double that.
You'd have to double that, Joe. I feel like I'm doing something illegal. It's kind of How do we pay? I don't know. How do you pay? 80swrestlingcon.com for all upcoming signings. But yes, this is super cool. One-of-a-kind stuff. And right now, it's hot. This is the time for wrestling memorabilia. So we're looking for an opening bid of $800. Have you sold past stuff? Like, is this something like, do people come to you with requests for stuff?
Oh yes. So it doesn't hurt my feelings if it's not the market.
Yeah. Hey, that's fine.
It gets kind of, I've had many headaches where, I'll post about gear that I'm selling, doing some kind of spring cleaning, and then you have to go, how much you want it for, you give them a price, how about this? So you're constantly going back with emails and stuff like that. You know, I have other stuff to do.
Oh, absolutely.
You set a price and that's it.
Exactly. Yeah, people, I think they don't understand
when you buy this stuff, you donate to my Block the Hate Foundation.
Yep, there you go. Anthony Rhodes, I wish I wasn't poor. I would have gotten a shirt. Oh, Anthony, save up for the next time. You never know what could happen. You can follow them on social media. There's always stuff going on, stuff for sale. Mike Cusera, Tommy, look at your messages when you get a chance. The belt is not for sale unless, you know, everybody's got a price. We learned that from one of our guests recently. Everybody's got a price, so it's a $5,000 belt. You're going to have to double it. 10 seconds left to make an offer, $800. We're looking for it. Tony Estrella, come through Dogcoin. I need some merch. To the moon. And, all right, I guess this is going to go back into the Erick Rowan personal collection.
Where did I put this? Oh, okay. I'm going to let you take front and center to this one.
I don't need front and center, man.
You need front and center.
No.
All right, Darren, come on over, Darren.
I don't need front and center.
I'm
over.
going to watch you...
I'm not doing anything.
Oh,
man.
Cece says it's a title, not a belt. Okay, Vince Jr.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. You're right. It's a title, not a belt. A belt is what you use to hold up your pants. It's a
I
title.
stand corrected.
Yes.
All right. I'll tell you what, for a guy who wants to block the hate, he gets very defensive.
Absolutely.
All right, so what do we have over here? You told me before that we have the original Nexus T-shirt. So when
Original Nexus T-shirt right here.
Okay.
Along with worn gear. I think I wore these when I fought John Cena, main eventing Raw.
Okay.
And these are just some of the trunks I wore on many of the attacks that we caused havoc for WWE.
Yeah.
And even though we lost, I gained a lot of great friends and a lot of great memories. And I said the reason why I'm auctioning off the gear is because, like, I got the idea from RVD. You know, why let this sit? Why let this stuff sit in the garage when, you know, someone might want to hang it up and collect it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's had great use for me, but someone else might want to hang it up and enjoy it. So, yeah.
And for fans that are, you know, maybe skipped over that era of wrestling, because again, we are 80s wrestling, if you do go back and watch some of that early Nexus stuff, I mean, it was eerily similar to the New World Order. And then there was even that little power switch where it went from Wade Barrett to CM Punk.
Yes.
I mean, you guys were the hottest thing in the WWE, I would say, for a good 7-8 month period right there. Where
Oh, I would say less than that, but
okay, well, I was being generous because we're trying to sell the stuff.
Yeah, I know. But our time, you know, causing havoc, we definitely maximized as much as we could doing what we did.
Well, how do you want to do this? Are we going to do these separately, the T-shirt, the trunks, individual? What would be the best
Well,
way?
I would like to do it all together.
Okay.
But if not, I would say the shirt and the Nexus armband would probably go for $700.
Okay.
Just that the trunks probably $1,500 altogether.
So all 3 pairs of trunks would be $1,500.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
So
could
let's
do
start
that.
with the shirt and the Nexus armband. This is really, really cool. So we're going to start $700 for this?
Yeah, I would do $700 for, yes.
All right, so there you have it, guys. The Nexus armband as well as the authentic ring-worn original Nexus T-shirt. We're going to look for an opening bid of $700. 3 minutes on the clock.
And I always say, you don't get half of me, you get all of me. And you can skip the cameo and you can get a personally video from me to whoever purchases that as a thank you, you know, for donating to the Block the Hate Foundation and just representing, you know.
Yeah.
You just skip the cameo and you get a personalized message from me to you.
That's super cool. One of the questions I wanted to ask, because I mean all the guys, especially I think it started in the 90s during the Monday Night Wars, these guys would always wear the T-shirt. It was their own merch. How does that work? Do they give you a box of T-shirts and say just go wear them on TV? Or
Yeah, well, usually at TV, you know, they have the big 18-wheelers, right, that we see outside the arenas. A lot of that stuff has a lot of merchandise in it that is used for TV. So at the time, Nexus, primetime players, definitely during the Nexus, yeah, we all had little cupboards with our shirts in them.
Oh, that's cool.
Mine was a medium tight, so I look bigger on TV.
A medium tight, also known as a schmedium.
Schmedium.
There you go.
Yeah. So it looks nice and tight on me. So yeah, we had a little cupboard with our shirts in it.
That's really, really cool. Well, we're looking for an opening bid of $700, and then we're going to do $5 increments after that. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's a great deal. You get the T-shirt. This was the original Nexus T-shirt, and the armband. The armbands were a big deal. I remember that being a very big focal point of the gimmick.
Yeah, and we had to wear those in the airport everywhere we went. And,
really?
We weren't allowed to talk to the fans, and the fans would get so pissed that we couldn't talk to them at the airport, anywhere. We just had to be stone-faced.
That's very interesting, because what a difference. I mean, here we are only a few years later, and now it's completely different with Instagram and social media, and they really made you guys...
Yeah, they said, wear the armbands, don't talk to the fans, don't sign autographs. So it was real.
How much of that do you think was them trying to get over the storyline or test the new guys? Maybe a little bit of both.
I have no idea.
Yeah, because that's interesting. I haven't heard of stuff like that since like the territory days. Of, you know, protect the business and whatnot. So to hear that, it's actually pretty cool to hear.
Yeah, I just did what I was told.
There you go. Well, we're looking for that opening bid. $700 gets you the Nexus armband as well as the T-shirt. And if we don't get any buyers, you can contact Darren Young on social media. Make him an offer there. It sounds like he's going to have a lot of stuff coming up. You can check him out in the New Japan Pro Wrestling, listen to his podcast. That's the one great thing about doing these signings. It's always great to catch up with these guys, see what they're up to, what they're doing. Got about 10 seconds left. Don't forget 80swrestlingcon.com, all the awesome upcoming signings. Place those orders, $125 worth. You get that 80s Wrestling Con t-shirt for free, but this one is $700 because it's ring worn and authentic. All right, it looks like they're going to have to contact you directly. And now we're going to try for the trunks. I mean, this is really trunks. Super cool.
Yeah, I mean...
1500, right?
Legendary, yeah.
Yeah, and one of them, which one was the John Cena ones? Oh, those ones, yeah.
These were the ones I wore when I fought John Cena.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, made by WWE seamstresses.
Very, very cool.
Yeah, I have so many trunks that I've sold and so many more to...
Start the clock, Vicky. We're going to $1,500.
So many trunks that I've sold over the last 2 years and so much more to just get rid of. So, yeah.
It's pretty cool. Now, does that design mean anything special to you?
No, it's just like a tribal type of design, nothing special. No logos at the time. Now, the current stuff I wear, I have my whole Block the Hate
Yeah,
logo
I've seen that in your 8x10.
So, yeah.
Daniel Dubé, that deserves more. I wish I had it. Hey, we understand, buddy, but you know what? Save up and see what happens. 80swrestlingcon.com for all upcoming signings. We're going to give this about another 2 minutes. We're looking for $1,500, the opening bid. And then afterwards, I guess we'll bring Mr. Rowan back on camera. We'll do a big send-off, big good night. Thank you for everybody who tuned in tonight. We're going to be back next Monday with Nikita Koloff. So many great signings coming up over the next few months. Any last parting words for these two gentlemen? Leave them in the chat or the comments. Tawny Estrella, totally worth saving up for. So much history, without a doubt. You guys have anything coming up in the coming days, weeks, months that you'd like to plug with everybody while we're waiting to see if anyone bids?
Yeah, well, I mean, I've got some more New Japan coming up. Hopefully August we can start running shows with fans. So that's my main focus, and also focusing on my social media sponsorships, you know. Currently with Glitch Energy Drink, they're based out of Florida, so I've just got to grind away and use my social media to inspire others to continue to be and accept themselves. So
that's awesome. What about you, Mr. Rowan?
So it looks like next month I got 4 different shows coming up for different wrestling spots. I think one of them's with Atomic Wrestling out of, I think it's Melbourne. I'm not even sure.
Melbourne, Florida?
Atomic Wrestling Revolution, or it's ARW, I think. Atomic, yeah.
I'm not sure.
I can't get it wrong. So I just picked up the booking, so I'm like, who are these people? Like I'm trying to get, but I trust Big Connor and Vicar out there.
Oh, okay.
With the headbangers. So I'm like,
Oh, okay, yeah.
So I'll be working Sin Bodhi,
Oh wow.
Kazarni.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that'll be a fun one.
That was I really wish that gimmick had gone somewhere because those vignettes drove me nuts. I love them.
He still does that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But no, I'll be slowly getting back into some wrestling shape next month. Continuing with the acting. Hopefully, some of the projects I have I can start talking about soon.
Great.
But be on the lookout for different projects that I'll be a part of. You can always check me out at Erick Redbeard on Instagram or Twitter, which sounds so weird.
Hey, you got to do it, man. You got to do it.
Yeah, it just sounds weird. And that's the real me because it has the blue check mark.
There you go.
Yes.
There you go. One more time, plug your social media real quick.
My government name, at Real Fred Rosser. Be a part of my family on social media. If no one supports you and your family, contact me if you want to know more about the selling of merchandise. Info at realfredrosser.com.
You can give me a follow at Ryan Marr Comedy. Of course, follow at 80s Wrestling if you're not already. There's always great content posted daily. Follow at The Wrestling Collector. A lot of great stuff. A lot of the stuff that they signed tonight will be available for purchase there. It looks like, unfortunately, we're not going to have any bidders for the ring-worn material, but I know that's going to sell because right now the market is hot for wrestling memorabilia.
Someone just messaged me for Rowan's contact information, so that definitely will.
Okay, there you go. Someone just messaged me for their contact information. So this works out great in the end. Thank you guys so much for coming out tonight. It was such a pleasure, and I'm sure the fans really appreciate it. And this was a great, great night. Thank you to Vicious Vicky and Tommy Fierro and the entire 80s Wrestling family. My name is Ryan Marr. Have a good night, guys.